Hey everybody, how you doing today? Welcome to Talking Shit. It's your boy the Jerk and Stan up in the building today. So today we're gonna review that one interview that they had on Harly Initiated with ISIS. You know, the lady you probably saw her in one of our videos and all over the internet. My husband's a monster, so I guess she does a deep dive on like her background, and they bring up a psychiatrists up there and have a great interview. So shout out to them brothers over there. They definitely been cooking lately with the debates and their different interviews and stuff. So yeah, you definitely gonna see a lot of us doing some breakdowns and stuff. So shout out to them again. But let me go ahead and pull that up so we can just jump right into it because you know it's a pretty long ass interview. So Stan gonna be an icon today. So, but he's gonna drop that intellect on us because you know Stan definitely got a good background and he's definitely an advocate for you know like mental health and counseling, therapy and stuff like that. So I had to pull him up for some of this so he could keep me in line. I don't drift too much.
Also, there's something else important here too. Also, I'm a cult survivor. Her mindset on spirituality also is in question.
Oh, okay. And before we even jump into this, I want to caution everybody because I like what the therapist, our psychiatrist, when she comes up, she says something important where you know, because a lot of times people always say like, hey, you guys are victim shaming, you know, and she was like, no, we need to have these conversations because this is why in 2024 we keep having these issues arise. It's because people never want to have the tough conversations about this. And one thing she did mention in this thing, and I know me and Stan, we always like talk about prevention and all these inner family dynamics, how it kind of messes up the kid. Cause me and you always give pushback on that. She brought up some good points where it's just like, nah, we need to have these conversations because we need to focus on prevention. And I think that's the issue with a lot of these when people don't want to have the discussion. It's just like, hey, we can't learn these lessons to prevent this type of stuff from happening and actually protect kids and stuff. Because a lot of times it is like people's they'll chase their desires or you know, we're a little bit self-centered where it seems like sometimes when we get into like relationships, we'll put the kids like last in the pecking order instead of like, you know, maybe I don't need a relationship till my kid gets a certain age and I get them in school and get them structured. I don't want to introduce all these different inner family dynamics. So maybe I need to hold off with all the dating. So me and Stan definitely been pushing that narrative like, yeah, I need to hold the hell on and focus on the kids a little bit before jumping into this stuff. So yeah, we ain't trying to victim shame, but we gonna have this goddamn conversation.
Y'all know people know that a lot of times they use their children as bait to lure people in. And also for the child got to perform in order to have the relationship. Uh, it's like you can have a relationship, but do they need to be part of your family?
Yeah, I agree with you, Stan, because I know we talked about it. I'm like, I don't think you should move any adult person in your house while you got your kids in there. So it's like y'all could date, but it's just like you don't need that whole nother adult to come in there and mess up the kids I say environment because they're already dealing with the breakup with the other parent. Then,
Yep.
you know, if they're in like junior high, high school, they're dealing with those dynamics from, you know, like school and that them type of pressures. Then now you add a whole nother adult in there that they got to deal with that person. That's a new person that's going to come in with at an authority position for that kid. So that's another change in their environment. Then, you know, if the parents have like other kids and stuff, then that's a fourth
Woo!
dynamic that you're adding to that kid's
Yeah.
so it's just like, man, I understand why kids sometimes spiral out of control because it's like, man, it's so much that they got to do changes they got to deal with, and everybody else is living a life, but you know, they're ones that got to kind of deal with that. And then, you know, when people have like say even they have like kids with that new partner, it's like you know, that kid has to witness a different type of love because you know the people are gonna have a different type of love for their own kids, so they got to see that play out too. So it's just like so much stuff. That's why I'm like yeah, I definitely push back on this stuff. I know it's becoming more and more common, but people need to start thinking about like the kids a little bit more and what they got to kind of deal with. So yeah, that's why I was just like, me and my wife never work out. I'm not having no kids out of that that situation. I was like, I'm getting cut that day because I was like, I'm not gonna have like, you know, I was like, I looked at it from it wouldn't be fair to my son. Like if I have a whole nother family and you know, he has to kind of see that. So I was always just cautious because I seen it play out when I was younger with some of my cousins where
Mm.
their dad moved on and stuff, had other family dynamics, and they got left to the back burner and shit. So that kind of always stuck with me.
You know who felt that way and expressed that was Romeo from Master P.
Yeah, that's right. I remember he did say that.
Yep, because Master P got a whole set of families, and Romeo felt left out. That was his oldest son. They used to do everything together, and and I get it. For some women, we're like, "What's a new family?" And it's like, "Yo, like that's something you gotta think about." Like, I forgot, like one of my friends got with a guy. He already had 6 kids, and it was like, she was on her first child, and he's like, "Whatever, buying
Yeah,
you."
he burnt out at that point. 6 kids. He
Yeah,
like, look, your kid is another number.
yes. It was like his number 7, and he's like used car seats, like getting donated stuff. She's like, "What?"
But Stan, if you don't mind me bringing it up, I know the last review we did with her, you mentioned that you had to deal a little bit with some inner family dynamics. So you said you was punking the dude. You was like,
Yeah, yeah. My father and these new women, and it's like taking care of these families. Yeah, I didn't like it, and yeah, I was very disrespectful. I did call. I called my stepmother's cum rags,
damn.
blanket. Yeah, I just didn't like it. I didn't like when my father introduced every woman to me as my new mother. It was disrespectful. My mother's still alive.
Yeah, nah. Thanks for sharing that, man. Yeah, I remember you said that, so that stuck out too, man. So yeah,
And
there's
the worst
I
thing
just know
too,
so many people that dealt with this, and they're just like, all of them collectively was like, I hated it.
yeah, nothing too. Like he never, we didn't know who he was dating. It was like it was just always a surprise, and the delivery was garbage. And I could say it was garbage. It was like these strange women coming around and like calling me their son. Like, who are you? There was like no introduction, no dating, no nothing. Boom, he got married. I'm like, what?
Damn. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
But
But
he's
the
that boomer generation. Just real quick, he's that boomer generation, and there's something about the boomer generation where they just go ahead and take care of women with children, have no problem doing so, but they don't think about the other children that they have. And it's an ongoing thing. Like they just don't think. It's about them. It's a selfishness and just an assumption that everybody will just get over it. And none of
yeah,
us gotten over it.
nah, no doubt. And the reason why I wanted to kind of do this background before we jump in the video, because she's gonna mention some of her like I'll say timeline and pattern that she created till she got to the guy that and this is all allegedly at this point because they're doing an investigation that touched the dude she married, touched their own daughter and stuff like that. So bad situation. But we're trying to give that context where it's just like, hey man, when you create these families, you expose the kids to so much stuff, not only just risk, but just other like mental stuff that they're dealing with on a daily basis with all these inner dynamics. So I'll go ahead and jump into the video, but I appreciate that background, Stan.
Oh, no problem.
There's a whole story we don't know.
Mhm.
So if you can take us back to growing up, right? Growing up at home, what did your home look like in your early childhood growing up?
Um, Due to the dynamics of surrounding my birth, which I already talked about, I grew up with a single mom, and my mom did everything possible to provide for me and my little sister. And I think the hard part about being a single mom is that when you're trying to do everything, sometimes it's hard to show up for your children. And I know my mom has always done the best she could, and she's always given us a good life, and she's always protected me. She's always protected me, and I couldn't really ask for more. But I knew that when um, I knew that when I had a family, or when I wanted to have a family, that I wanted to be able to be there for my children, whether that looks like working from home or being married. I always wanted to be able to be there for my children just so that I knew that they were safe. Because when I was a child, because my mom was working,
Take your time.
it left the door open. A neighbor's wife was supposed to be watching me after school, and her husband was taking advantage. And I was only 8 years old at this time.
Wow.
And I didn't tell my mother for a while because it was just confusing, and I was scared, and I thought I would get in trouble. Oh my goodness.
Take your time.
So just to summarize that, I want to make sure I understand. You had was it a single family home growing up? Your
Yes.
mom, she was obviously hardworking woman that had to provide for the
very
family,
much so.
all by
And
herself.
in school, always like has a PhD, all the above. My mom has really like strived. Every woman in my family, even my grandmother, it started with her. I mean, she owns a business, a very successful woman. There's multiple entrepreneurs in my family. So we've always just been, just go get it, make it happen. And I've always been that way. Before meeting my husband, I always worked, provided for my children. I never got child support for my 2 boys. I took care of them. I luckily was able to secure a job with a family business, so I was able to work from home. But it's what I had prayed for when I was pregnant with my second son, because his father got incarcerated when I was 6 months pregnant, and I didn't know.
Before she jumps in too much, I'll just say, man, like, and that's the sad thing in a lot of stories. It's just like, me and my wife was just watching a movie, and it was just like, I forgot the name of the movie, man. Damn, it was about some book she was just reading, and then the movie came on. I think it stops with us, something like that.
Okay.
And it was just like the mom was abused, and then her daughter ended up in an abusive relationship, and it kind of showed like how a lot of stuff like trickles down to our kids and stuff. So
It's true. I'll speak for myself. My last, not like my last girlfriend, but one of the girlfriends from church, it ended up like I was dating the narcissistic parent. A lot of times, there's there's this thing where you're looking for that parent that was absent, and you find that in
okay.
another relationship. So that the absent parents for me was my father. We never got along. My birth father. We just did not get along.
Yeah.
But I always pick women that was just like that. Like they just, but then it was a successful relationship, but it ended up well. But that was where I learned about the codependent relationships I always get myself into. And it's not putting blame. Like, and I tell people this about therapy. Therapy works when you work. So it took like several steps for me to have aha moments. So it took like 2 years to stop being angry at her so much, but then look at myself.
Oh, okay.
And then finding out like, yo, even for like other relatives, we like my cousins and my sister, we realized like, yo, we're going for the absent parent. Um, so if we had one parent that was there, you still crave for the other parent, and then you find relationships like that, like but that's successful. So like, if you're like, for example, for her, she picked somebody that was going to end up going to jail. She never talked about her father, but then she's picking somebody that's like her father,
Okay.
as opposed picking somebody that's like her mother, that's an entrepreneur, that handles business and doing all of the stuff. You pick your absent parent.
So you think in a way it also does it fill that void of like probably because you lacked getting that attention from that parent that you're
Yeah, like
okay.
it's like you hope. So for me, it's a sense like, okay, it's telling me that the absent parent did love me,
Okay, I got you.
and that's what it looked like. That's what I said. Like for a lot of men, when they're in a relationship, you're like, why are they not leaving? Like Travis, right? There's an absent that's there. Like he doesn't feel good enough, and here's somebody that's probably similar to that parent that he don't have access to, and
Mm,
that's why he's staying in that relationship. It just happens. When people say like you date your parent, you do.
Oh, okay. Just and one more thing before we jump back in the video, because yeah, like it sounded like the mom was a good parent. Dealt with the dad not being in the picture, so she's out there working and stuff, and she had to rely on other people to kind of like help watch the kids. But that's why I'm saying a lot of times, man, where that's where that risk people get exposed to risk with because you got to lean on other people sometimes when you don't have the other person in the house. So that's why it's just like
But
I'm not saying like
problem in that, like,
what was
why?
that?
Just but you see the problem in that, right?
Oh yeah, no,
It's like,
absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. I think man, we just got to get more protective. Like you need to go to I know it's costly, but it's just like, hey, either you got to tap into like grandparents or go to daycare where you just can't leave them with anybody. And not to say those places are always 100% safer, but it's just, you want to lower that risk, mitigate risk
daycare,
wherever you can.
SJ daycare is not. I don't. My only issue with daycare is that one, how much it costs is almost like a mortgage. Two, not only you sign this contract and when they go on vacation, you still gotta pay them their rate, and you have to put that child in somebody that they approve of. So you're paying two times, and
I
then
get it, Stan. It's
three.
costly, but I'm just saying if you can't, like, you don't have somebody else, man. I'm spending that bread, like,
But here's something I
just
don't
instead of my
understand.
neighbors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with you. So like, I don't understand why people have a pushback with nannies. I would rather pay a nanny
Oh, okay, yeah, that's another
over
solution.
a daycare where they like picking up germs, meeting other people's kids that I don't know. I don't know nothing about your household. My child with your child. I'm putting all the supplies. I would rather go ahead and pay that money for somebody that's coming straight to my house, picking up my child, making the meals, and give the kid one-on-one attention. It's to me like it does not make sense because I live in California. I know where everybody else live. Where they're paying $24,000 a month, and you don't see that you better off getting a nanny to come to your house and take care of your own child or pick that
You said
child for
24,000, or you meant 2,400?
2,400. I'm sorry,
Oh,
2,400.
okay. I'm like, damn. I was like,
Oh,
that's.
okay, 2,400. My bad. But like
I was about to say, shit. Y'all
2,400.
better move out of California. If this is
It just does not make sense. Like
nah,
go ahead,
it's
get a
steep.
nanny.
But
Get a
that's why
nanny.
we got, man. When you have kids, man, like I said, it's not 100% formula. But when people say you got to move with intentions and make sure that you plan, like if you can, I know like things happen, man. Like so, I'm aware of that. But it's just like, man, it does like set you up for I say for a better situation as far as like raising your kids and making sure you have the resources and stuff. Because like you saying, yeah, that is costly, like 2,400.
Yeah, and you're doing it every month, and then you don't forget you also have your own house, your own mortgage, your own HOA. Like just because you have the money doesn't mean that you should spend it. You should have a nanny because your child get that individual one-on-one attention. Like you need
Yeah,
help.
and you could do background checks on them too, right?
Easy, easy. The
Okay, yeah, that makes
organizations,
sense.
the
Yeah, I like the
people.
nanny thing then.
Yeah, it makes it, and it's cheaper, and there's a stable person that grows up with your child that knows your child, and you guys work together. There was something that's to me was alarming in here. There's no mention of no men, right? Talking about the grandmother, what's the grandfather? She's talking about all the women in the family. Okay, what did the men do in the family?
That's a good point. Because yeah, it's a lack of a lot of there's some gaps where it's just like you said that what's that old saying? Like it takes a village to raise a kid. So it's just, man, are we becoming too like detached from other people where we don't assist each other no more?
Yeah, we're there.
Okay, yeah, because that's
We're there.
sad. That's a good point that you said. Okay,
Because for her, like, here's something I'm going to say this to all the women. You pick a man to have a kid with, but then you don't want that man to assist you with the kid. That does not make any sense.
yeah,
So
it's like people got to do the co-parenting better.
yeah, and actually pick a guy better. Like it does not what you date is not going to be the same thing of what you do when you raise a family.
Yeah, that's facts.
What's up? Welcome
What's
back.
good, M3?
Thanks, guys, man. What's up, man? Good
We
to be
just
back.
going into the video, so I'm gonna play it some more, and yeah, you can get caught in there because yeah, it's in the beginning phase anyway.
Yeah, I almost thought that was Cardi B. It's that Cardi B looking like again.
But all right, let me jump in the video.
Sure.
What I was gonna do because it was just gonna be me, and he didn't get out until my son was about 9 months old. But I had to figure it out, and thank you to my aunt and uncle for giving me that opportunity to be able to be home with my children and provide for them. And we had a nice apartment, and we had all the good things. I had my own car, I had all my own stuff. But I remember it was one Christmas when it was just us, and I said, you know what, I would like to be married. And I had never said that before. I never wanted to be married just because I haven't really seen a lot of successful marriages in my life. So when I'm sorry, I'm talking too far away. But when I had that Christmas, it dawned on me that maybe I should really put myself out there and try to find a good man for these kids. And I had 2 boys, and I feel like they needed a good fatherly example because they didn't have it.
Now, we definitely want to dig into that as well. And I want to go back because I don't want to just breeze past this incident that happened at 8 years old.
Yeah.
Now, you get assaulted by a neighbor's
Yes.
husband. And where's your father at this point? He's just...
My biological father is much older than my mother. He took advantage of her when she was a young girl in high school. I think I remember my mom saying she was in labor trying to take her SATs.
Wow.
And she was the pregnant girl in high school. And it's unfortunate that he preyed on her like that. But there's so many men like this out there, and people just don't talk about it.
And so the situation is your mother coming from an abusive relationship. Now she has you, you're 8 years old, you go through this traumatic experience with the spouse of a neighbor.
Yeah.
And let's fast forward a bit, because if I'm not mistaken, you had your first child at 17.
Yes.
So before having this child, what did sex look like to you at this point? Like when was your first sexual experience and kind of getting active?
Probably when I was about 13. I lost my virginity to a 17-year-old boy in high school. And I was always told just don't have sex growing up. I don't know if that's what a lot of people in our community say.
They hear.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a child that was essayed as well, I was told from my own therapist, it actually starts when it happens. So your sexual awareness does change. Her at 13, it was her choice, so it's empowering. But the fact it actually happened when she was 8.
Oh, okay. So you
So
said like when that situation happens for a lot of people, that's like that
yes.
changes you. Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So you already had it. You're already awake. It's just that now, when you're older, it becomes your choice. That's one. Two, a lot of times we relive the experience because now it's a choice and we're in control.
Okay. Stan, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Having that experience, is that why you're like an advocate for kids? And I would say like you're super protective. I see you with your is that your niece?
Yeah.
So it's like, man, I see how you like operate with her. So is that kind of why you're like overprotective and like an advocate for kids and also mental health and all the stuff we mentioned before?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. Because it's you don't want somebody else to go through it. That's one. And then two, like somebody helped me. And it's like you want to make sure that you help others and the next generation could help the rest.
No, I appreciate you sharing that, man. Because I know for guys, like that's tough for us to even admit, stuff like that. So nah, thanks for sharing, man. Honestly.
Yeah, and also like I had teachers, they could see it. They're like, "Yo, something happened," because there's
Oh,
like,
so people had awareness to like they see changes in you.
yeah, but I wasn't the kid that was touching people or nothing like that. I was shut down.
Oh, okay.
So that's what happened to me. I just shut down and I'm somewhere else.
Mm.
So that's when they knew, like, oh, okay. And then I stuttered a lot. I don't like people touching me. I still don't, but I was like, mm-mm. Like, like everybody hold hands. I'm like,
Yeah.
like, don't
Oh.
touch me.
But shout out to you for getting through that, man. And now you're like a talkative asshole now, and you
Yeah.
be trolling us. So nah, I'm glad that you made it through that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
But I'm gonna jump back into the video real quick.
That a lot.
Just let me
Just
know
don't
if
do
I
it.
need to
It's not
stop at
really
any point. M3
openly
and Stan.
discussed about why and what can happen, and even personal experiences that may sway a young girl away from making certain decisions. But I have learned, and I really wanted to be able to speak to young moms when I created my platform. Because if I would have done it over again, granted, I love my children, but if I can speak to a young woman and say, like, don't have kids before marriage if you can help it, it's going to be a little bit easier. Just trying to be real and open and honest. I was a single mom and this is what happened. And I found what I thought was a good husband, seemed like a good husband, but turned out to be just a monster.
I want to ask this because do you feel
Shout out to her for saying that. I do like that because like if we go through certain things, it's good to communicate that to other people. So it's like I like what Stan says, so other people don't have to go through experiences and stuff.
I have to put a pushback on this though. And it's not her. It's the culture, right? Sadly, the culture always been from girls is to get a kid so you can move out and get your own apartment.
Oh, okay, I got you.
You get under, you get away from your mother's roof, and then you start your own family. And there is such a structure for that to take place.
Yeah,
It's
it's almost like you said, putting people in a bad situation, like you said. So I agree with that.
But then when you look on the flip side, right, for the boys, they don't have anything, right? Either they staying with mom or they're staying with a girl that already has a kid and get her pregnant with baby number two. Or, if they can't make it to the military, they're homeless. But I mean, like, and that's the sad part. Like, kids are being made just to house or for people to be loved. And it's like, yo, it's a lot bigger than, than this. Um, and also for her, like what was it? Because your mom was a teenage mom, right? Like, why would you want to be a teen mom? What was going on? And she don't
Yeah,
talk about that first boyfriend at all. She talks about the second one, but she's not talking about that first one too much.
I think they make her kind of go back and address the timeline. So I think they get there in a little bit. But I like what you're saying because that's why I give a lot of pushback on that whole sometimes the provider shit. Because I'm like, man, nah, y'all need to get with each other. Y'all need to both build. And I think, man, when you take that genuine approach, when you get with somebody, man, I think you kind of eliminate a lot of people that might be there for the wrong reasons.
The sad part about that is, and that's why I'm glad I grew up in a mixed environment. What I mean by mixed, like every other race, I've seen a lot of white colleagues who were the women were younger, the boyfriend was older, right? But they still went 50-50.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's like they were in their 20s, he's in his 40s. They were about to build that life. They're like, nah, I'm not going to sit down and be dependent on no, you know what I'm saying? We're going to build this right. So, when we hear everybody else is like, nah, you need to go ahead and pay. I'm like, didn't we not grow up in the 90s? everybody was into building. Something had to happen when people thought like, I don't need to build. I'm just gonna sit down and act like a damn cat, and you're gonna feed me and take care of me. And it doesn't work because I have to say this because you right, SJ, like your mom was divorced, right? My mom was
Uh-huh.
divorced. They were like home, home moms, stay at home moms. And when you take care of the home, then you have to go back out there and work. It's different.
Yeah, they my mind was she was in financial shambles somewhat, so it
And
just
also,
don't end well.
and you see how they also impact on women. Like my sister, she's not going to depend on nobody. She works. She always goes to school. She saw it, and it's different. For me, I want you to work. I don't want you to stay at home, and we'll bring somebody in. Like I don't. We'll get you some aunties or somewhere to come in and help out. But I don't want you to stay home and be like making cookies and baking pies and clean up the
Yeah,
house.
getting
The house.
everybody in the house fat and shit.
You know what I'm saying?
But
Like but
just to piggyback off what you saying, Stan, and the issue where I'll be trying to get people to realize is just like a lot of times, say like people have kids young and then they want to go out there and try to find a provider guy. It puts them in a place of like almost desperation. They're not looking for character, nothing. It's just like, let me get somebody that could cover my finances. And, that's when they start exposing their kids for risk and stuff. And I think she's going to kind of skirt around this a little bit when she's talking down the line, but this is what happens. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, man, when you go after people for the wrong reasons, that's somewhat predatory. I know people don't like talking about it, but it's just like, man, when you're kind of using somebody, that's what it is. We got to call it what it is. And you got a lot of those guys that they might have those predatory behaviors. So it's like two predatory people coming after each other. And it's just like, that's fine and dandy if you by yourself. But man, when you got kids, man, you don't take risks. You need to go with somebody that's genuine, and y'all need to build instead of, looking for these shortcuts in life, man. Cause yeah, it's just sad when people take these different actions. But M3, was you trying to say something? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I was gonna say something, and then until that point when you made that good point that you made as far as like, people like get into this provider type of mindset. I think it, to be honest with you, because sometimes like I have like mixed like thoughts about it because on one end, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe this is kind of like the way how like it should be almost, and when I hear providing, most of my thing is like, okay, well, financial stability or something, or some type of resources. Like, when you get your stuff together and creating like your own family unit, but then at the same time, like, I really understand why you keep advocating for people to build, because the thing is, to me, it will feel unnatural for me to build with someone if I'm already successful. You know what I mean? So I mean, like, if let's say for instance, if something happened to like where my wealth increased and now like I'm in a position where like if I wanted to, I could provide for multiple, people like within a family to like, survive off of. And if that person's really choosing me for my providership, like it would be hard for me to really want to connect with that person, because it's
Yeah.
always going to be in my mind. It's like, well, dang, like if I stop providing, this person's going to start being around my presence.
I think I have an answer for that.
What?
Okay. Again, this is because of therapy. It is something like it's not a codependent relationship. You're now going for an intradependent relationship. You with somebody that also handles her own business and can do stuff on her own. You finish your stuff and you're asking like, hey, do you need me to do anything for you today, for example? Or she comes up to you like, hey, do you need anything from me? It's just because you guys want to help out. You guys want to build
Yeah.
something brand new. And that's what it is. So when both parties are solid, you want to build a life together, that's something completely different than when you have to build a life together.
And Stan, could I add on something? Like
Yeah.
the reason I've always been big on like building with somebody and also teaching, because I looked at it from the side, like if something happened to me, like say, man, because like when we're younger and stuff, it's just like, man, you're not gonna be like super rich where you're gonna leave a bunch of stuff. So like I always made sure like my wife was building skill sets, because it's just like, say something happened to me and then all of a sudden, you know, and I think this happens to a lot of women and even her Isis in this case, where it's just like, okay, she has kids and stuff, so now she's probably financially struggling. So it's almost like sometimes it gets in people's mindset like, I gotta just find a guy to help out, you know what I'm saying? So they're in that scarcity mindset, you know, they're kind of desperate at that point. So they're almost damn near pulling anybody into their life and shit. So I just never wanted that to happen to anybody. And I think that's where good leadership comes in, where it's just like, hey, I would love to do everything, but it's just like, I need to make sure that you know how to function if something happens. So that way it's just like, okay, like when my wife is like, she could sustain. So now like if something happened to me, she don't have to go out there and be desperate. You see what I'm saying? And I think people miss that point of stuff. And I think a lot of females sometimes, like I said, they'll want that shortcut in life, and then you know them shortcuts just bring problems. So it's just like, nah, build with somebody, go and gain that knowledge, make yourself self-sufficient. But what like Stan's saying is like, hey man, like when you working with somebody and even though you're self-sufficient, like you're there for the right reasons, and now you got that appreciation and that gratitude for each other, and it just protects you, because now like if something happens, you don't have to go jump out there and just chase anybody and pull risk into your kids and stuff. So that I think people got to get better. It's just like, hey, it might be comfortable at the house, but is it the right thing to do? You know?
No, and I want to add on something to what you said, SJ. What people don't understand, like when you are now dating out of survival, you're going to accept anything and everything.
Yeah.
Your kids are going to be sacrificed, and that's what I tell guys, right? Like some of my like so it's like somebody from church a long time ago. He's older, and he just did not want to live right. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Get a heart attack, and so that white man could go ahead and move in with your wife and ride your boat and drive your car that you didn't get a chance to drive and use your money, because because like people don't think about the future. Like, yo, you building up this life. If you go away, your kid's not going to have anything, but this man and his children are going to take over the whole legacy that you built.
Mm-hmm.
Or what's even worse, the life that you built now, your wife is going to be used by guys, and she's going to start looking for stuff because she's not around her own circle, because she doesn't have the friends that she needs to be around with. Your kids is going to be left out, wonder how things run and operate. It's to me it's crazy that we don't talk about budgets in family. We don't
No,
talk
facts, Stan.
about savings. You know what I'm saying? And then you throwing kids into the world, they don't even know how the world operates. Like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah, and that's why I said, man, a good leader, man, and because I hear a lot of guys sometimes they be like, oh, I don't want my chick to, you know, make money and stuff, and I'm like, are be intelligent because of that insecurity. And I'm like, nah, man, a good leader, you want everybody around you to excel. I don't care if it's my friends, and I want everybody to surpass me. You know, I guess I don't have I'm not insecure like that, where I just want everybody in a good position. Cause like I said, it's like a form of protection. So like, I like what you said, Stan. It's just like, yeah, people don't think ahead. And it's just like, man, if your family ain't situated right, it exposes them to like that desperation moves that they might take. And then, you know, typically when people have kids with other people, like we were talking about earlier, saying like your kids get pushed to the sideline, people could take your whatever legacy you have built. So I'm like, I'm thinking like 5 steps ahead. I'm like, hell no. Nah. Like everybody that's rocking with me and like under my leadership, they in a good capacity. But let me jump back in the video because I know they about to get to the timeline part.
Okay.
Feel like that experience that happened at 8, obviously you had your first experience, sexual experience at 13, you know, intentionally.
Yeah.
It sounds like, did that experience at 8 years old, do you feel like that influenced that experience at 13? Did it hypersexualize you in a way?
I'm sure it's all connected. I'm sure it's all connected because I believe that women who are basically taught from a young age that their value is in what's between their legs start to internalize that. And it's unfortunate.
And I can imagine a ton of confusion going on at that time. And now you're 17 and you involved with a young man. And if I'm not mistaken, you stated this before, that you intentionally had a child.
Yeah.
So when you say at 17, you intentionally decided to, move forward with bearing a child, what exactly does that mean? And what was your mindset?
We as a couple, we kind of had this whirlwind romance. I actually met him here in Atlanta. So, on a train coming from Alexandria to Atlanta. And everything clicked. And he said, "Will you give me a son?" And I said, "Yes." Wow. And I was pregnant almost immediately. And I love my son.
How long did you did you guys have a relationship at that point?
Oh my gosh, it was probably like a few weeks. It wasn't long.
Hold on.
It wasn't long at all. And I still consider him a friend to this day.
That was the second one, right?
No, that's the first one.
First baby daddy?
First baby daddy, yeah.
Okay, so she met him within a week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess here's my thing, right? Because it depends, like, was she more like sexually attracted to him at that time, or
a teenager?
Hypersexualized
since the age of 8. Your influence. Okay, so something happens to all of us when we hit that puberty and then rounds of puberty. It's hitting more hormones. 17, 18, 19, even for us guys, right? Mm-hmm. You just met somebody and you're making a decision and a choice that's going to change the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. You don't see yourself aging at that. We're thinking we're immortal at that age. All of us been that way. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that she wants somebody that's going to be there forever, and the baby is going to seal the deal.
Yeah, it's kind of like people have this notion that we create these miracle babies, and then these babies is going to pretty much set our life up, like, for the better, or it's going to help, like for women, it's going to help, like, the man, like, stick around, take care of responsibilities, kind of build that bond. But then when that doesn't happen, and now you become a single mother, and now you become bitter, and just like what we're talking about now is that, especially women that has multiple kids, they look for these providers, but it doesn't matter about, like, you're not looking at the consequence of, like, okay, what can this provider do for you? Well, I don't want to say what can you do for you, but what can you see yourself with this provider in the long term? Like an example, because I know a lot of, like, single mothers that got, like, 4 kids and a granddaughter, Latino, whatever. Don't mean to throw that out, but that's just what it is. But they, so, like, the reason why they told me, like, they wanted to have kids because they wanted to feel loved. And yes, and usually around, like, age 8, between 8 or like 16 or 17, or maybe a little bit younger than that, it's like when they first have their SA, attack. And of course they don't really become the same, like, as they were before that incident happened. But then it's like you find someone else, because maybe you grew up, like, emotional, physical, sexually abusive as well too, even within your own household. And if you didn't really have a good relationship with your father, now you're looking for other people, not as far as, like, people of character, of good quality, or someone that you're actually attracted to, but now you're in a mode where it's like you just need a place to stay, you just need to survive. So now you're putting up with all this garbage, getting the arguments, being talked down to or whatever, like you're worthless. And your only solution in their minds, based on the stories that they tell me, is that when they have children, that's the only way how they could feel loved, by just having multiple kids, even though you're having kids by a person that's not going to really value you, as a wife, or value you as the mother of the kids. Now, fast forward it, now you have children that's probably like in a teenage or in a grown state, but then you're still looking for a provider that's going to, like, be the solution, like the savior. So you finally get with the provider, and now, or get married to, and the provider's doing all he can to take care of your children, because that's the whole purpose of it. But then it's like the physical aspects may not be there, so it's like you're never going to be satisfied. So I don't know. When I be hearing these stories, I'm just like, it just, being a provider just doesn't really serve a purpose for women that has multiple children, or even if a woman don't have kids. It's like, I just want to be in that type of role where it's like, I'm funding your lifestyle for the exchange of what?
But understand, like, this is the start of it. So she only got one.
Yeah.
And I hear what you're saying. Like, she's not there yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hindsight is 2020. There's no hindsight yet.
Okay.
Yeah, let me play some, because once it gets because I like what M3 said, and it is going to kind of connect, because I want to circle back to that. So let me play
She's
it.
not there yet, M3. She's just not there yet. She
Okay.
don't see it. But she set herself up for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
But because it's probably because we reviewed the other video, but because we know kind of how it played out, but M3 is kind of spot on. So I'm gonna circle back to that. Let me play the timeline out.
Like,
Wow.
he's still a good friend.
And how old was he?
He was a few years older than me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait,
And that was
you
your
notice that she's
first child?
protecting him, right?
Okay. And just to confirm, before you met your now husband, how many children did you have?
2.
Okay. So when did you have your second child?
I had my second child with someone I knew from high school. I had known him. He went to a different high school from me, but I forget how we met. I think at the library we met. And my mom liked him. He was nice. And I actually ended up moving back home after things didn't work out with my oldest son's father. And I actually saw him when we were working somewhere together. I had gotten a new job and he happened to be working there too. And it was just like, oh my gosh, hey, and, we started a relationship and my son came about, and yeah.
So at this point, you, I'm assuming 1920, you got 2 children. And from my understanding, your sister now,
Well, I would say, no, I was like 21 when I got pregnant, or around the time. I remember when I turned 21, I think I was pregnant. I couldn't even drink on my 21st birthday. I was pregnant with my second son.
And what is your mother at this point communicating to you about men?
My mother has always told me that you need to be very careful about men in general. And I don't want to paint every man in a bad light, but there can be a predatory side that some men do not control and do not want to control. And that's the dangerous part.
And where was your father at this point in time in your life?
Nowhere around. I mean, he had threatened my mother that if she tried to even get child support from her, that he would end her and her family members.
Wow.
So he was nowhere.
Okay, so you now at the point, you got 2 young boys, and are you at this point, after your second pregnancy, are you considering dating? Are you having conversations? Kind of what direction?
So right now, like based on the timeline, this is before she got with the last guy, where she did the interview with, like, he's the monster, because I think she had 2 or 3 more kids with that guy. but it just shows like two baby daddies at this point, and both of them didn't work out because the first guy she met on the train, got with him, and he just came to her like, let's have a baby. So just like Stan said, kind of young, and we all think we're invincible, but then got with the second guy, didn't really work out, and I think she's getting to the point where she's talking about how she got with the final guy that she's been talking about. But see, and this is the sad thing, and this is what kind of was tying into what M3 was saying, where this is where women, it's just like, man, this is where y'all do got to learn. And this is why we do have these conversations to try to tell y'all. It's just like, when you do have like multiple kids, especially by multiple guys, like other guys are not going to typically come and, I'll say mess with somebody with that type of situation. So it exposes you, like typically like the type of guys that will come into that picture, and it almost puts you at a tier of dudes that, they're not like ideal to deal with to begin with, but that's kind of where you're at because of like the situation you built for yourself when you don't, kind of plan stuff out as far as having kids, and you're just having kids by multiple people. It exposes you to, like, I say undesirable type of guys where they're probably insecure. They got things wrong with them, and that's why they'll be kind of willing to step in that lane. So a lot of times they might be looking at those guys like, oh, he's accepting my situation, but sometimes you do got to pause and be like, why doesn't this guy have any better options, or why is he willing to accept this type of deal? Because at the end of the day, we all got to be realistic. Like if I was a guy and I had like 2 kids and I was a single dad with 2 different baby moms, I know off the rip that a lot of women ain't gonna mess with that because of the burden that I'm gonna bring to the table.
No, they'll mess with that.
Not all, but we got to be realistic. But because it's a burden, and we just got to get to the point where with people, it's like when you create that burden,
yeah,
a lot of people that got their stuff together just ain't gonna deal with it. Are there some that will? Like, yeah, but
when you look at the women who mess with the Pookies of Futures, I mean,
yeah,
like,
but Future's a multimillionaire. That's why I'm saying we got to paint the picture. Most of the people are average, and that's why I'm saying, like, if you don't.
But even the average one, we did a show where the guy had 35 kids, right?
Yeah, but I guarantee you, if you go and look at them women, there was something wrong with them mentally where they would do something like that. That's what I'm saying. Like when you do a deep dive in those type of people, there's something lacking in there.
Well, I'll say this too. Like in addition, I hate to say this about single moms or whatever, right? Shouts for them for making bad decisions and still raising their kids, but single women are easy prey for dudes they're easy prey for dudes who are just only looking for maybe a moment of time or a one night stand. So like if I was that type of dude, right? And I'm noticing like a single mom and she's giving out like desperate type of vibes where it's like, okay, this is going to be easy for me to build, but not for a long-term relationship, but just for something that can only just be like temporary for the moment. Like single moms will definitely be that type of target. So if you're that type of dude where it's like, okay, they have that type of attraction for you, and they let you hit because they in their mind they think like, okay, like this dude could be the one. Like in the meantime, you're like, all right, well, this person is the one just for that moment. I just think that I don't want to say they're recreational use, like trying to use like Fulio's, whatever his name is, no Fugazi's like terminology or whatever, or sorry, ideology. But I just think that for our starter package for most dudes, if you're just trying to like just get a quick fix in, those might be the ones.
But
Yeah, a lot of people do target people. I think the psychiatrists in it even kind of give some background on that. I know I heard it. Somebody was breaking it down where they was talking about like some guy that got caught up with stuff, and he was like letting everybody know like, hey, I would target kids that came from a one parent home because I know like you know, they were kind of like easier prey. So people been on record saying this type of stuff, and that's the sad thing. So there are people that target people in positions of desperation. I mean, even, you know, I know Stan mentioned it earlier, like cult type stuff, you know,
Yeah.
people target people that are going through certain things or might be vulnerable, you know, and that's just the reality. So that's why, like, man, I tell people, man, like, you know, don't put yourself in a position where you're too vulnerable and stuff, or when you're moving out of desperation, because that's when you kind of get caught up, because you know the people could feed off of that type of situation. So a lot of times, like when you do build baggage, the type of people that would be dealing with it is kind of what like M3 saying, dudes with that certain mindset that they might not have better options, are they're targeting that, you know, and that's just the reality. It sucks to say stuff like that, but it's just like, it's not just men or just women, it's men too, you know, that it's like if you present something, you're going to attract like good people just ain't going to deal with it because they got options. So they're going to, and that's not to say 100%, but it's just like, it's a fact. Most people are not going to deal with certain situations. Go ahead, Stan. I thought.
Yeah, I want to add something to that. There could be another thing that's here too, where men, we're paternal. That's the whole thing about being they have a paternal drive, right? We want to. That's a part of leadership, is making sure that people take over when we leave. That's part of leaving a legacy. Could it be because of that that there's an option for men to choose a single mom? And also, if you grew up in a single mom household and you was a child, you knew how it was, and you wish somebody would date your mom, and you purposely pick women who don't have that because you know what it was like when you grew up, and you're trying to change that narrative.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a point, because I do think some people are very observant. So they're like, look, I don't want to repeat history. So, you know, they're like you're saying, Stan, they're gonna look at that and be like, nah, I'm not going down that path. And me personally, like I always say, you know, people just didn't understand what I was trying to communicate until
Mhm.
like some of these stories came out. But I was just like, you know, me, I have a kid, so I would look for somebody that had a kid, but I would never move in with them until our kids left the house, because it's just like, I know sometimes I guess like I would be more cautious for somebody else's kid than they are. And I
Yeah.
like we were talking about earlier, where I understand that that kid's gonna be going through stuff, so I'm not gonna add another layer, and I'll be vocal about it, like, hey, you need to get your kid. I'm not gonna change your family dynamics, you know, just because we want to be together. We can still like be together, but you need to just manage your household, and I need to manage mine because I got my kid too, and stuff like that. So it's a lot of stuff, and that's why I'm saying it's not just, you know, like what M3 was saying. You know, I hate that term recreational use, because I feel like if you don't want to be with somebody, don't even mess with them. Don't deal with them and mess them up. But you know, I wouldn't want to deal with somebody directly like that because of the dynamic with the kid, and I'm not going to come in there and, you know, mess kids up. So I think there's like the people that's like you were saying, Stan,
Mhm.
that look at it that way. I think people are going to look at it from the kid perspective, like, nah, you know what? I'm just not in a position where I got the patience for kids. So if you don't got patience, I'm not gonna, you know, put myself in a position and, you know, like harm the kids and stuff, not giving the proper attention. Then you just got people that just don't want the financial burden that comes with it. Cause I mean, that's another thing where, hey, if somebody got two kids, like that's a financial burden, regardless if you know, people don't want to say it or not. You know,
But I think there's a
it just
side
is
where,
what it is.
but I think there's a side where there are some men, they're built for it. That's what they want.
Oh yeah, no, there's good guys that ain't looking at it from a predatory thing. So I mean, that's that group of guys also that like, hey, I got kids, she got kids, and I'm cool. She was a cool chick, so I got with them. So there's that dynamic. But there, like I said, there's the population of people that just don't want to deal with it also. So
Yeah.
it's just like we got to lay it all out, where it's just like, hey, here's, you know, if you do kind of have kids and it's by multiple dudes, people are going to look down at it to a certain degree. That don't mean like the end of the world and nobody's going to mess with you, but you know, we're trying to prevent other people from going down this path. So it's just like, hey, be cautious how this might play out, because you know, a lot of people just ain't going to jump into that situation.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And if you find somebody, please don't ruin the relationship. Work together, build together.
Yeah, facts. But let me get back to the video.
You want to take your life? What's happened?
After things didn't work out with my second son's father, and it was that Christmas that I told you where I was like, I really need to create a family for my children. Gotcha. And, just do things the right way. And I knew I wanted more children. I love my babies. I think I'll have another one in 10 years, maybe.
I got to stop it right there. That irritated me right there.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
When she said that. Huh?
She might have another baby in 10 years. After you already deal with these horrible situations with these men.
Yeah, my thing is like, man, I get when people, because I recently just had a conversation with somebody and I was just like, all right, man, I know you want a kid, you like them, but can you properly give them the amount of attention that you need? And because I think people think sometimes it's just the money element, like, okay, I got the money, I could take care of them, but it's just like, man, can you be really active when you have too many? And then like in her case, it's just like, you had some bad situations and you need to probably do therapy with the kids that the situation happened to. It's like, man, you probably don't need anymore. I get it, man. Like you have enough. You got 5. It's just like stop and, man, make sure that they good and they get the proper attention and you get them to that next stage. So, yeah, it's just like people just don't need to keep having kids. It's like, I get it, man. You like them, but this, there's a stopping point. And that's another person because you're not with the third guy, obviously, based on the story. So it's like, man, this is a 4th guy you're going to have a kid with. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like, no. Like,
who's like that? Kiki Wyatt, the singer, the R&B singer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think he got like 12 kids or 17.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, like we were talking about earlier, it's like all these inner dynamics. So it's just like, dude, have you not learned your lesson? Like, no, like stop. That would be like a 4th guy that you're gonna put into like all these kids' lives because it's not just one. It's like all these inner dynamics. So nah, leave that alone. Like
the crazy part about it, right? It's not like they're not like. What was your part in the demise of the relationships? Because what was going on for the first one for it to not work out? What was going on for the second one for it not to work out? Like, there's not a clear, like, she doesn't own her part.
Yeah, and when the psychiatrist comes up and she kind of tried to start alluding into it, but she kind of danced around it, and that's the issue. It's just like, even by making a statement, it's just like you're not taking accountability for some of your actions when you would make a statement like, oh, in 10 years, I would love to have another one. Like, no, like, man, you got a lot of healing to do. You got to do a lot of healing for your kids, man. It's just like, man, it needs to become about them instead of your desires and your wants, So she's showing a lot of signs of like being just self-centered. And I think that's what the issue is a lot of times with, we're talking about Stan and M3, we always be talking about like, man, y'all need to focus on the kids. People are just self-centered and it's like, I want this. Then they'll have all these kids and be like dumping them off on just anybody. And this is how this whole cycle just repeats itself, man. So yeah, it's like, man, I get it. People love kids. They treat them like accessories and handbags and shit, sneakers. But it's just like, man, you don't need to rack up numbers. Like I literally was like getting in an argument with somebody because I was just like, hey, man, you're supposed to only have what you could properly manage as far as kids. He was like, where's that say that at? I'm like, you're a piece of shit. No, because I was just like, look, man, like you don't need to just have kids so you can just dump them off on other people. And, so it's like, you can't have them just to make yourself feel better. You're supposed to be like, damn, do I got enough time? Can I go to all their functions? I got to work a lot of hours. I'm already dividing my time with, what I have right now. And if I have more, it's going to take me out of tolerance. So people just are so self-centered. They don't want to like calculate this stuff and they just keep spitting them out, man. And it screws everybody up. So yeah, nah, that was a bad statement on her part.
Yep.
I'm an advocate for these kids, man. I'm giving anybody smoke that.
I can't believe you said that.
It said what?
I can't believe he said that. Where they say that at? The guy you was trying to help out, like where they say that at? Like what?
Yeah, no, man, they gave me pushback, and I was just like, yeah, I cussed the person out because I was just like, look, man, like this is common sense, and you're supposed to care more about your kids than yourself and your own desires and all that stuff. So
Good
like,
movies for that person to see would be Fences. I'm sorry, I'm sorry about that.
no, you good, and because my whole thing is just like. I get a lot of this is why I kind of give a little bit of pushback to therapy sometimes. It's like I understand bad stuff happens to people and it could like mess you up. So I understand what you were saying earlier, Stan. But
Yeah,
man, when you have a kid, something should just click in you where it's just like, hey, regardless what happened to me, I'm gonna make sure that this kid don't experience nothing. So I'm gonna be extra protective. I went through some shit.
exactly.
And that's what I don't just get with people. Cause even when I was telling you my cousins like had experiences where they got pushed. So, one of my cousins, I kind of mentored him, and I was 15 and I seen these dynamics and I was able to like break it down. So it don't take a lot of insight to see how some of this shit impacts other people and stuff. But it's just, so I was just like, I'm never going to do that because I seen how it affected people getting like left to the side when like their parent moved on with another family. I was like, nah, fuck that. I'm never gonna do that to a kid because I seen how it just fucked up like my cousin and them. So
You said
yeah,
something
nah.
that was very impactful, right?
What's that?
So mind you, 17, you get pregnant. I wish those health classes still being taught. There's something that's not talked about is that the postpartum depression and the mama bear that happen to women after the pregnancy, and then now, you're very protective of your child. You don't have time for that relationship. It's you and this baby. So the man feels left out. And I wish that there was classes for men to understand and the expectation of the change that's going to take place in the household. So that second boyfriend experienced the same thing the first boyfriend did, and the relationship didn't work. But I don't think that she knew that she was doing this.
Mm.
And that's something like child development and also hormonal development is not being taught across the board, because when kids come in, it changes dynamic for everybody.
Nah, I definitely understand the hormones, but do you think we also should like when we teach that, be like, look, man, having a kid ain't about your own self-centered damn
No,
actions
I'm
and
with you
shit.
on that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I think that piece is missing a lot of times, and it's just I just hear people, and it's never about like, damn, maybe I shouldn't do this. Damn, I already built a pattern. Maybe I need to stop. Like I'm already kind of overwhelmed as far as time and stuff.
Yeah, because
I'm
those
moving out of desperation. So it's like, damn, maybe I just need to stop and focus on what I got and make sure I'm good. It's just so self-centered and selfish, man.
I remember my aunt told me one thing where she's like she learned to stop yelling because she had to, because she didn't know that like when a child is small they can only remember so much, and constantly yelling at your kids does not make them remember anything, just makes them afraid of you.
Oh, okay, damn.
And she had to learn that because my mom used to get a lot of pushback because my mom did processing with us. She always asks us questions if we go a little deeper, so why do you do this and everything else. So she never like was into hitting or anything or yelling.
Yeah.
But other people were just into the yelling, and then the kids are in shock and they just avoid you. But when she had to go and take anger management classes, she had to understand like yelling at children does not help them at all to remember, nor do you get your needs met. Sometimes, a lot of
That's a
times, you
good
have to
point.
sit down and process with them, and also understand you give them so much stuff to do that you're out of bound. Like the goal of a parent is to make sure the child is equipped to become an adult. The goal of a child is not to make your life easier and be your servant.
Nah, good point. Yeah, because it was funny, man. My dad was like that. He'll make you break everything down. I'd be like, nigga, would you just spank me? Goddamn. But I mean, like, when I got older, like, man, I'm very practical and logical. So it definitely helped me out as far as like learning how to break stuff down, understanding why stuff happens. And I see a lot of people kind of lack that. But like you said, it makes sense because it's like if people just go to screaming and shit, it's just like people ain't getting that level of understanding and how to critical think and stuff. So I like how you said that. But let me turn this. Go ahead.
Because her mom was a teen mom, and she's leaving her kids with other people. It's like her mom was like, "I'm gonna do what I need to do, regardless what goes on." And I don't think, and then she's acting as though she's her mother, because her mom had 2 kids. She has 2 kids.
No, that's good observation. But let me get back to the video so she can break this down because I want to see where she gets to the third, how that situation happened.
Right now, that's just not on my mind at all. I have 5 beautiful babies, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of them, and they're my reason and my purpose. But I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, you fine. I just wanted to get an idea of what kind of inspired you to get back into the dating market, which it sounds like you wanting to start a family.
It was that.
Start fresh.
It was that. Just wanting to find a good man that I could respect because of the type of women that were in my family, very high achievers, and just really everyone in my family has been a very high achiever, that I had a certain expectation of what a husband should look like. And also, finding certain content. I don't know if I should even talk about any of that.
Well, I think you should, because all of that influences how you think and particularly how you go about dating.
Okay.
And, right now it is still very much so a gender war. Both men and women are confused about how to date and how to make decisions.
Yeah.
And I think everything and anything that influenced you at that time is important to share.
Well, I had shared this before, that I stumbled across a very important content creator that I think everyone knows as the hypergamous queen. Her videos are shared, sprinkle videos everywhere.
Oh, hell nah. The sprinkle lady.
Oh man.
Sprinkle.
That's what she.
You can't hear a prayer and listen to sprinkle. It don't matter.
I'm sitting here feeling sorry and shit. She listening to the sprinkle lady.
Yep.
Damn.
I'm trying to, now come to think about this.
So she was targeting the provider at this point.
Yes.
See, and that's what I'm saying, man. Now and that's what I was talking to somebody. I'm like, man, and that was what I was talking about, the predatory behavior. Man, if you going out seeking people for like resources and characters like last on your list, like, man, you just put yourself at so much risk. And that's why, like we were talking about the 50-50 building with somebody and shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, man, a lot of people and we hear females like, I ain't trying to build with nobody. And it's just like, man, you're exposing yourself to like somebody they're not genuine with you either. Because anybody that's why I give pushback to tricks. I don't like tricks. Because I'm like, a dude that would just throw his money. He don't respect his money. He damn near sure don't respect himself, and he don't respect anybody else. And that's the reality. So it's just like, man, you expose yourself to risk when you do these type of things. But yeah, there's sprinkle.
It's this weird thing, right, where you come in with no money, but you feel that you're equal to the person who worked for all his money. That is some crazy, goofy behavior.
Yeah, that's narcissism. For real, man. Like, inflated self-ego. Like, man, when you can't have these understandings about stuff. Because just think about it, Stan. That'd be like if I came in, you're like, yo, James, you got a mansion. You're letting me stay in your house. You know how much appreciation I'm going to have? And I'm going to be like, yo, Stan, I need to pay you back. Thank you for, like, let me live in this, like, accommodations and shit. Like, so that's what I'm saying. For people not to have, like, that level of awareness, man, it's crazy, man. Especially when you're an adult. Like, it don't even make sense.
And then trying to run things like, you came here penniless.
Yeah.
Trying to run. Like, what? You need to enjoy your lifestyle. You don't run anything.
But this is definitely a bad look right here. Listening to Sprinkle. That chick got like one brain cell.
The sad part about this, right? She doesn't know. Like, they still in litigation. Am I correct? This is going to be used against her in court.
Oh, absolutely. If I was that dude, I'd be like, look, she listened to this moron sprinkle lady. She came for this bread. So
Mhm.
definitely not. Yeah.
I felt like there was like a video where O'Shea was talking about it, but I could
Yeah,
have
we
been
might have to circle back. But yeah, sprinkle. She's blatant. Like, hey, get a provider guy. He needs to spend all his money. It ain't nothing about character. Ain't nothing about like he needs to. Y'all need to have a spiritual connection. That shit is just about them getting money. So if she was listening to that, like that
Oh,
says a lot.
and the thing like, oh, you don't have to have sex with him. You're married.
Oh, so yeah, damn. I didn't realize she go that deep.
Like half of his stuff, you don't have to have sex with him. If he wants to have sex, you could give him divorce. He won't have sex. That'll kill the mood. I'm like, whoa.
Damn. So she was on that extreme shit, huh?
Yeah, she's on that. Yeah. She's like, you
Yeah,
don't
because I
have
only seen that one clip where she was like, "Yeah, make him pay for this and this," and I'm like, "Oh hell nah." So yeah, if she's going that deep, then yeah, that's terrible advice. And if you can't discern from that, then yeah, something wrong with you, man. Because yeah, that don't even
But
that
here's the
shouldn't
thing
even.
about
You
the
should
sprinkle.
hear that and be like, "Oh, this is bullshit. Let me get rid of that."
But here's the thing about the sprinkle lady. She got on TikTok. She has over 1 million followers on TikTok. She sold 2 or 3 books, and now she teaching courses, allegedly teaching courses, and about to do a tour.
So
She's
she
about to
out
do,
here cashing out on a whole delusional fan base, huh?
and the thing that's crazy about it, right? When you watch her videos, she always have a back screen.
Yeah,
Like
we're gonna have to
the
check.
green
We're gonna do a breakdown on her. We got to do that breakdown. I'm interested now. You know,
so you never see her real house. It's always like
she probably broke and miserable. That's the thing, man. When you do stuff the wrong way, it don't end out right. Half these mugs on Xanax, psych meds and shit, just miserable. So yeah, man, it's like, man, you ain't meant to be alone. Find somebody good. Do it the right way, man. Stop these shortcuts in life, man. It don't end good, man. We keep seeing all these cautionary tales, man. And that's why we keep doing these reviews, because this is like, man, this get with somebody you actually like, man. Understand you need to do for reciprocation. We talk about that all the time. But yeah, let me jump back in this video. I just had to stop it right there when she said sprinkle lady. I was like, oh hell no.
Where
I just learned about the sprinkle. I didn't know about it.
So a lot of people are new to this, but I was true to it because I was following before there was 100,000 subscribers, like me and my sisters, and you know,
That's Shira 7. Correct?
Shira 7, yes.
And I recently checked out her page, thousands and thousands of views. And she's been doing it for a very long time.
For sure.
Yes. So I was telling every woman that I met in person, like, you know, there's a content creator that makes really good content just about, really, it seemed like how women could take their power back is how it felt. That's how it felt at the time.
Yeah.
Take your power back by being lazy.
okay.
You see the contradiction in that, where it's just like, oh, you're not talking about going and take your power back by like educating yourself, going out there doing the hard work, you know, moving up the ranks, you know, motivating yourself, pushing yourself through adversity and stuff. You're talking about taking your power back by like using men and doing manipulative type stuff. That's sick. You know what I'm saying?
It's something little. Yes, what you're saying is true. And remember, I told you a lot of times when you have a particular background, you go into like it's your choice, and it makes it like you have control. A lot of times, because of your looks, you feel like your looks is a responsibility, and people took advantage of you. Now you figure out like I can use it as a bait and then control this person. I won't be a victim. I'm in control.
Man, I don't think it's. I get what
No,
you're saying, Stan, but that's why sometimes I was like, man, we got to pause on the therapy shit.
no, but this is not therapy. Under no, this is not therapy. This stuff that she's doing, this is straight up survival. This is survival stuff she's doing. This is not therapy. I want to make it clear here.
Okay, I got you. But
This is
I
not
just think,
therapy.
like you said, that one lady got $1 million people base.
Yeah.
And man, a lot of them came from good back. Man, a lot of people are just lazy, man. They want to meet somebody at the finish line and they don't want to put nothing into a relationship. And it's just entitlement and self-centeredness, man. That's all this shit is.
And also there's trauma bonding in there, right? It's just like, well, I ain't gotta do it if I do that. And if I, and I'm just, it's copy and paste, right?
Yeah, I got you.
What she's saying right there, that's a red flag.
Hell yeah.
That's a red flag when she said that's empowering. And I'm just like, what? And like, she found empowerment in it because, well, before it's like she was using coochie to get what she wanted, but now I can use my attention, lure people in to get what I want and need. But that also is a red flag because like you're teasing people now. And not saying that you need to go ahead and like you have choices, but like this is a dangerous play. Like what that woman teaches people, I'm like, yo, it's delusional, it's hurtful, and you're gonna mess with the wrong person. It's
Yeah,
not
no,
good.
it put her at risk. And that's what I'm saying. It's just like, man, you didn't want to go out there and go to like a nursing program or something, use your brain and stuff like that. And so it's just like, man, like you said, you resulted to like low level tactics, man, and it didn't work out, and that's sad, man. That people keep doing this type of stuff. But yeah, nah.
And if she had stayed with her aunt and her uncle, right, they made sure she was okay so she could focus on raising her two boys. If she had stayed there, she wouldn't be where she's at today.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let me jump back in. Let me see what she's saying about Sprinkle Lady.
Ooh.
So that when you went from a place of not wanting marriage at all,
Mm-hmm.
and then you started to want marriage. Was she a part of the reason?
I believe that, you know what? Probably. And I hate to say that, but probably it just seemed more secure for a family. It just seemed right. It just seemed more stable. Like we would be on a solid foundation.
Pause. Sprinkle didn't do that. Sprinkle didn't talk about no damn family. Sprinkle. She was not. It was secure in her lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
It was about what she can get out of it. And she said,
You see,
older man, because he got a pension and everything else, he's going to die first. He's going to be taken care of. It had nothing to do with no damn family. It was like the husband is like we said, the man is the plan, the husband is the plan, and the whole thing is like he's just waiting for his death. He's nothing but your servant, and he's going to be paying it off with his life.
There's some yeah, nah, that's what I'm saying, man, because I think when the guy said it, that's what she's like, oh, she kind of like caught that nugget and she was like, oh yeah, that's probably what it was.
Ooh.
Like, yeah, so
that
yeah,
lawyer
he
from
kind
the other
of fed her
side
like the
There are some words to really like get out of, though.
yeah, she jumped on that shit quick. She was like, oh yeah, nah, it was probably that sprinkle. She gonna throw her ass under the bus. So that, yeah, she's starting to show like no accountability for like her actions. She's like, shit, I'm about to give sprinkle that work.
Right. Right.
So yeah, let me see what she says. Let me get back to the video. Yeah, she about to throw her ass under the bus.
And I prayed to God about it because, you can subscribe to certain things that people talk about, but you don't have to subscribe to everything that they talk about. And I've always had a relationship with God, and Jesus is the one true Lord.
Oh,
and
stop.
I knew Stan was gonna want to stop it right there.
Oh, no. Jesus, one true Lord, and sprinkle do not go together.
Not at all.
Blasphemous.
It's always a huge correlation, man, whether it be like, the OnlyFans models, like from the whatever podcast to this woman on the Harly Initiated. It's like Jesus is the way to allow these women to continue to make these mistakes. He is the ultimate he is the ultimate accountability free card. I see why women are so heavily into religion, man, because
But that's not Bible, M3. That's
Yeah,
not
nah, they
Bible.
they
That is
they
not
remixing shit.
theology.
They on some like remix shit. They some DJs out
Yeah.
here.
It doesn't make no sense. How do you, and I'm sorry, I had to say something. You went ahead and put sprinkle, sprinkle, and my true Lord and Christ. I'm like, no, 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 no. We have to stop this. I'm so sorry, SJ. Because that was
Nah,
so
you good.
blasphemous.
Nah, it is. Yeah, I caught that too. I was like, I know Stan about to.
Ooh.
Yeah, they brought Jesus into this. Sprinkle, sprinkle, then Jesus. Like, all right.
Prayed about it and asked God to send me the right man. It wasn't just about what he had. It was never about what he had. Because if it was about that, I had a lot of other options with more. And it was really about how he treated my children. Because he seemed to love my boys. And he said, oh, those are my boys. You know, you remind me of my mom. She was a single mom with 2 boys. And I would just love to help you and be there for you and be the man you guys need. Oh my gosh.
So you know what? I want to, before we actually get deep into, you know, this situation that took place with your husband, I think it's important to, you know, talk about the impact. I'm actually happy you shared that because, you know, we had that we had a debate just the other night where that was a part of the conversation because who you watch and learn from, that's discipleship. That's mentorship.
Oh my goodness.
That's who you are, you know, in submission to.
Yes.
Under their leadership.
You know what? That's so true.
You know, the thing about it is now when you're discipling under somebody to make the most important decision in your life, this is how I choose my partner. That's the biggest decision we make. They have a lot of influence on our future and the future of our children. What do you think was the biggest takeaway from that content creator in particular that impacted you? What was the biggest takeaway, or what empowered you from her in particular that made you feel that safety and security? Like, what was it, a particular lesson or principle that was given to you?
I think that a lot of times, like I stated before, that women are taught that their value is in what's between their legs. And she was the first person that said that it was true. And you don't have to give it away to just anybody. A man should be worth your time. He should be, you know, taking you out. He should be investing in you. He should be making your life easier if he cares about you. And that's what I took away from it.
I think that makes sense.
You know,
That shit don't make no goddamn sense.
Be right back. Just going to take a quick second. I got to restart my.
No, do your thing. Yeah, no, I had to pause right there because man. And this the issue I have with a lot of this stuff, and it does expose a lot of people's mindsets. It's just like, man, just say you wanted to do like do stuff, but like they don't preach no reciprocation. They ain't, like I said, they ain't talking about no spirituality, no make sure he has character, make sure you know, dude has all these other elements, and make sure, you know, they never talk about what you need to do to make sure that you retain the relationship, like as far as like treating the other person, reciprocation and stuff. So yeah, they need to stop co-signing this nonsense.
But you see what the man picked her because she reminded him of his mother being a single mom with 2 kids. And he's like, I can do the same to make sure I become the father that I didn't have.
I don't think it's that, man.
No, but that's what she said. He said.
Oh yeah, no, that's what she's saying. But if she's saying like he did all those like terrible acts, he saw her, and this is where I try to tell a lot of women, man, and this is where women gotta like wake up. It's just like, okay, if you coming after a dude for money, and you know it, that's predatory, like I said before, because it's like, man, you're not coming in there for the right purposes, and you know that's sinful acts. Let's just call it what it is. So it's just like that person on the other side, like a trick, he could spot you and see like your desperation too. So that's where a lot of women don't want to look at that side of the house. It's just like, hey, he could spot a desperate person. And that's where like some of them guys, when we see them playing out where they're like super controlling and stuff, it's just like they know your desperation and stuff. So they know how to lure you in with your material, since you're materialistic and you're just fixated on the money. They know how to pull you in. We see it with Diddy and all these other guys where they're like, hey, okay, I know she's materialistic and she's chasing this money. So I'm gonna put that out there for her. So that's what I'm saying, man. That's that parasitic relationship that these two have, materialistic people and superficial guys like that, tricks, you know.
Yeah. And also you notice there's something else she said, right? Oh, not her. The hosts, both of them said, your discipleship, who you follow.
Yeah, they said she was in a cult, goddamn it. I like how they kind of rephrased
And
it.
like when the lawyer of her husband or ex-husband gets a hold of this information, it's not gonna be good.
Yeah,
It's not
definitely
gonna be
ain't gonna help her out.
No, because she purposely targeted him because he had money.
Yeah.
Because that's what she teaches.
Oh, but bottom line, all you gotta do is just go get them clips, and it's clear cut what that message is. It's like go find them, and when she was even breaking down, it was just one sided. It was like make sure he does this, make sure he does this. Ain't one drop about character or nothing. It's money centric. That's all that shit is.
And in her books that's on Amazon, it's like, yo, lady, you woo. And they have the nerve to put it in the name of Jesus. Blasphemy.
Yeah. Merge it in some religion. Like, yeah. But all right, let me get back to the video.
I want to ask you this because, you know, right now, hindsight, you know, with where you are today, do you feel like that was the healthiest content to digest, or do you have any regrets in really watching that content to help guide your decision making?
So funny thing about me is I don't have regrets. I believe that God is working in perfect order, in perfect timing, and there's nothing that happens that he has not approved or seen. And unfortunately, our family, not just our family, but our family in public have, especially my daughters, have had to be sacrificial lambs in the result of what has happened. And yeah.
So now let's talk to me about meeting your husband now, because I can imagine after you watch.
Let me pause right there.
Which
I have
one
to give. Huh?
I'm sorry. Which one you guys said earlier about like the kids become a sacrifice? Was it you?
Well, we said, you know, when people chase their own desires and, you know, they put the kids last, the kids end up in a bad position because of that. So, yeah, I mean, sacrifice is kind of a harsh term, but that's what ends up happening. So the one issue I have with what she said when they asked her is like, do you have any regrets? And she was like, yeah, no regrets. Man, she didn't do the acts of like harming her kids as far as like she didn't put the hands on them and stuff. So if that guy, if he's guilty for that, bury him under the prison. You know what I'm saying? Those type of people, I could keep going on what should happen to them, but you get the gist of it. But even as a parent, if I was like operating in a self-centered mode, I'm going to have some regrets. I'm be like, you know what? Yeah, I have some regrets because I should have never been out here in a place of desperation. I should have never been like just going after people for money and stuff like that. I should have had my stuff together. So the fact that some people could be like, I have no regrets, that, like I said, that's a lack of accountability. And it's just like, if you're sitting here, you're mentioning the Bible's all about accountability and you focusing on, you know, what you did wrong to even lead up to, you know, putting your kids at that risk. So it's like, you need to have a little bit of some regrets. We're not saying you need to harbor on it and, you know, fixate on it where you can't move forward, but you need to like analyze that so you don't repeat these these issues in the future. And that's why I gave pushback earlier, as far as like when she was like, well, I want to have another kid in about 10 years. Like, no. Like, if you can't pause and be like, see the errors in your ways, and then you talk about you want to have another kid, nah, that's the issue, man. And yeah, it's crazy. Go ahead, Stan.
Shouldn't have any more children. Like, let other people have kids. There should be a cap. There should be a cap on how many times you get married. Like, there should be, let other people get married. Like, let other people have children. Let other people get married. Like, you gotta do the work, because she's not. Again, you making like you're not even going in about the guy. You're fluffing everything else. But like, those are his daughters and his son. Those 3 kids that she got, that was him.
Yeah.
Now, what she doesn't own up to was like her page before. She took everything down, but luckily people saved it on the on TikTok. And
she was talking that sprinkle shit too.
Yeah, she was a full-on disciple.
Mm.
She was just straight up living the life, and just bragging about it.
So, Stan, real quick, what did you feel about the no regrets? Was I off base on that?
No, you're correct.
Okay.
You're correct. You're correct, because like, if she had done the work, really, what it probably looked like a movie for Tubi, but you need to go back to your baby daddies and look at like what was your part in the relationship, because the only thing that's the same here is her.
Yeah, it's a pattern at this point.
Yep.
And just for everybody out there, because I know people, like I said, they always jump on the victim shame and stuff. It's like, we're not saying she did the acts, but it's just like sometimes selecting people, that's the issue. So you need to analyze like why you keep selecting messed up people. And I like what Stan always says is it's like, hey man, you need to sit down and figure this stuff out and make sure you don't repeat these cycles and stuff. So that's what we're talking about. Cause like if she keeps just jumping into relationships, that's putting her family at risk. So that's where she needs to analyze like, hey man, how do I protect my family, not keep doing the same thing and stuff. So
and
that's
also
that's the issue. That's what you should regret, that you continue the pattern of some bad selections.
And also it might go on to the next generation, because look what's going on between her and her mother. She's just like her mom. Us just being a teen mom. And now you got into another relationship. Your daughter's watching all this. So like, and your sons, this can continue over and over again.
Yeah.
Was it that movie you said you and your wife watch?
It stops with us.
Yes.
Yeah, and it showed the generate, because we was literally watching this earlier today, because I was like, damn, this is interesting. My wife was breaking it down to me and stuff, but it was like her dad was like abusive to the mom. Then her boyfriend, when she got in a relationship, was abusive to her. So when she had a baby, she was like, I'm leaving you because I'm not going to repeat that cycle. So she eventually moved on from to stop the cycle of abuse.
And that's the work that she probably needs to do.
Yeah, but she damn sure don't need another kid. Listening to some sprinkle. Well, you was about to say something, them three?
Nah, sure, I forgot what I was gonna say. But,
my bad, man.
nah, you good though.
Let me know if you bring it back up. I'm gonna jump back in the video real quick, because after this segment, they bring up the psychiatrist lady. She was real dope. I like how they pulled her into it, but Bruiser, he pulled up and he was giving some pushback.
Oh, okay.
This content, it's probably preparing you for the suitors that come into your life, how to vet them, how to manage them. Was he one of the early suitors?
Yes.
Was he the first one, or were there a few guys before him?
He was one of the first few, and he pursued me heavily, which I liked. I think that women like a man that pursues and says that, I want you. And
you initially met him online? Yes,
online. I'm sorry. Okay. We met online. I don't want to throw the website out there, but if people have been watching, then they know. I don't want to make the website a bad place. That's not what it's about. But we did meet online. Yes,
I get it. And you meet online. You set up a date.
Yeah.
Okay. And first date goes well.
The first date went amazing. He felt like my husband.
What about the experience with him made you feel so comfortable?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I just felt safe. I felt like he was my husband. I can't describe it. And he, even on our first date, he said, "So what do you think about if we got married in 2 months?" And I said,
Oh, again. Oh,
Yeah, see, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's almost like she's naive and gullible because this first date, I'd be like, man, you're a weirdo. Like, you know, most people would be like, man, you're mentioning this on this like the first date in 2 months, like red
notice
flag. You
that's
know what
what
I'm
she
saying?
does. She did that with the first one, and she
Yeah, that's what I'm
did
saying, man.
the second one. Like, yeah, she ain't do no work. She ain't do no work.
At all.
Yeah,
So,
but here's the thing, right? As a guy, right? Why even like it tells me something's wrong with the other person as well too.
No, facts. That's what I'm saying. Like any guy, that's what I'm saying. That's like leading with the money, and he talk about he want to marry you in like 2 months and stuff.
but we know why.
Yeah.
It was about conquering and then eliminating the options, and now you depend on me.
Not facts. Yeah, he wanted to take her up off that market. He was like, shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said he's superficial because he's like he saw a younger hot chick, so he was like, "Hey, I gotta wrap this up." But definitely a red flag. She definitely should have. Time he talked about some marriage, like, oh hell no.
They're like,
So
girl,
she
you
was
already
definitely
fell
going
for
for them
that
pockets.
twice. Like, you already fell for that twice. Like,
Yeah, you fell for the
what?
okie doke. That was the first one off the train. It's like my man just rolled up on the train, was like, "Hey, let's have a kid," and
And you're like,
that
yeah.
that was the initial one. So it's like you ain't learned your lesson yet. You still falling for these. They ain't running even high level game at this point.
Like, she just pregnant at first sight. That's the new show.
Yeah, god damn. All right.
I don't know, maybe. And he spit out his water because he started choking. Like he couldn't believe I said, "Oh, maybe."
Wow.
But it felt so natural and so right. Yeah.
How old were you at this time, by the way?
I was 23 or
Oh, wow.
24 or something like that.
Okay, wait.
And what was his age?
Pause. Okay, so this happened to you when you were 17. It happens to you again when you're 20,
21.
21. 3 years later, you fall for it again?
That's what I'm saying. And I get, man, she had a traumatic experience. And that's why I was like, we can't mix therapy and everything, because at this point, she's reckless. And that's the sad thing, where it's just like, man, you're just so self-centered and selfish with your life. Like, man, you already got kids, and it's just, yeah, this is sad, man.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
Oof.
45, 43, 45, something like that. I don't know.
So he's
Yep.
around 20 or so years older.
Yes, he's 20 years older.
Yep. That's
Now, being a young woman at that time, 23,
Mhm.
did you have any reservations about his age, or was that a concern at all, or was
it a
that
plus?
just a typical right?
Mm,
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't get introduced to dating older men until I've started watching Share 7.
Mm.
She
Ding,
just
ding,
basically
ding,
said,
ding, ding. Ding,
Oh,
ding,
so-
ding, ding, ding. I told you guys. That's what she teaches.
Oh, to target older guys.
Yep. Because
And that's why I be telling all these old dudes, "Oh, I'm gonna give me a younger chick." I'm like, man, y'all better stop playing. These young chicks is undefeated. They whooping y'all ass out here.
no, this is something, right? Like back in the day, my mom, she always dated older. That's why she picked my father. She's like, look, you always gonna be the hot wife. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sticking towards my age. That's why I say, hey, I'm
but no,
45.
that's
I
what
ain't
I'm
going
saying,
under 40.
but she comes from that era of women's like where you become a housewife. Okay, if you're gonna be a housewife, be a hot housewife. Like your husband is older. It was like she explained it like this is what it is at this time. But again, she was that woman that sat down and she processed everything with you. Because it didn't make any sense for her to go pick somebody her own age. It's like, no, you still immature. You still run the streets. Somebody's older. They want to have family. It was a different time.
Yeah. All right, let me get back to the video.
But she falls
I
sprinkle,
mean,
sprinkle.
they have,
That because you want
They
that
got
money.
yeah, exactly. They can be a better man to you. They can provide for you in the way that you would like and your kids. And, so I was like, okay. And it was.
She said, better man. And then she slid that provider in there.
Yeah, I told you. That's what Sprinkle taught them. You always get older.
But like I said, it was like no character. She tried to say better at first, but she was like, yeah, provide. So yeah, she was going for that money.
Yeah, provider means pay me.
Yeah, pay up.
It was a bit odd at first because I didn't initially jump right into online dating. I just, men would try to talk to me at the grocery store, and normally I just wouldn't even pay attention to older men. But I just started to be a little bit more approachable, I guess, to men of an older age. And I ended up meeting the first older man that I dated. And it was a little bit odd at first because I just wasn't.
So pretty much what she was saying is like, they try to holler at first. She wasn't attracted to none of you motherfuckers. So she wasn't having it. But when the money got tight, y'all started looking more appealing. So that's really what it was.
Then she met Rick Fox.
I'm used to dating an older man, but because he treated me well, it became easy. You feel like a princess,
I'm curious to, you said I started doing things to make myself more approachable to older men. Like things like what? What makes you more approachable to an older guy?
Just like smile more, or, you can make a little more eye contact, where normally if you don't go for a certain type, you're probably not even going to turn your head. You know what I'm saying? Right. You're not even going to look in their face. But, I was like, let me keep my options open. I always was attracted to men of color, so I typically stay in that range. But I was like, let me see about dating someone a little bit older. And after I did, I was like, oh, I could do this. It's not too bad.
That's very, very honest of you, and that makes a lot of sense. And I want to ask, the online aspect of it, was that also part of the strategy, so to speak, to be able to identify men that might be a little bit older?
It wasn't at first. Okay. Actually, one of my older sisters said, why don't you just try online dating? She was like, it's not too bad. And I never had online dated, like not made any type of profile.
Right.
Because I was like, I don't want people that know me to see me on here, and it's kind of embarrassing. And, that's just was my thought process at the time. But then she was like, no, and my oldest sister, she's gorgeous. So it's not like she doesn't have in-person options. But she's like, just try it. And so I tried it, did a paid dating app because I feel like it would be a little bit more, smaller pool of better people. Exactly. And, I was able to meet, some good guys.
So how long after that first date, did you, because obviously he threw 2 months out. What happened after that first date? Did you guys continue exclusively dating?
Not really. I mean, we kind of dealt with each other, like talked, but I kind of was just talking to people. Like I kept my options open and just was letting people get to know me and taking things slow.
She friend zoned that nigga. That's she's like, I'm gonna put his old ass on the sideline and let me see what's out here.
And she was dating all the other old men in Atlanta that were paying everything.
She was like, let me put this cat in the friend zone. I ain't about to jump on this yet. I ain't that damn desperate yet.
Not really rushing anything and not trying to get into a relationship at all. And I found that honestly, when I started dating older men, they wanted to rush into a relationship like immediately on the first date. They were like, I want you to be my woman. And I'm like, no.
Shout out to the old simps. Them niggas trying to get married on a first date. Baggage and all.
They're like, hey, I got one life to live, man. That time is already coming.
They like, look, man, they ain't even get the appetizer out. They like, look, you want to get married?
But it conflicts with her story when she said when she met him, they want to get married in 2 months. It conflicts it.
To a certain degree, but she's painting that picture like, hey, all these old dudes, they all throwing the wallet and they just want to get married. They easy targets. That's what she's pretty much painting that picture with it. I mean, it don't look good for her, like you said earlier, Stan. Like she definitely out here hunting. She got like a blow dart. You know, she hitting them like Cupid out here.
No, I don't even know you. And that's kind of just how I would, we need to get to know each other over a bit of time. And it turned out to be 6 months, not 2 months.
I think that is very interesting because, and initially when you told me about the things that, your husband at the time was, or the guy you was dating at the time, the things that he was saying, I thought, well, that's, kind of strange for him to be saying those types of things. But based on your experience, you're saying that the older men, this was regular conversation.
Yes, they wanted to take me off the market right away.
Wow.
Right away.
Okay. So at this point, 6 months goes down the line. And what is the transition from you now taking him serious? What did you see? Because I know when it comes to the assessment of, deciding to be a husband, a lot of, what the noise is that, it was solely a financial decision that was made. What's the truth behind the decision? What did you see in him to actually make him your husband?
He was so good with my boys. He was so good with them. Even my oldest son responded to him in a way that he didn't respond to with my ex. And I paid attention to those little things because I would gladly leave a man if he didn't mesh well with my kids. And I did that with the man that I was in a more serious relationship with right before we got married, because I had started, that was the man that we started looking at rings, and the relationship was, moving forward, and I had moved in.
There was another gentleman.
Yeah.
That you met, and I believe you said that you got caught in the girlfriend stage.
Yeah.
So could you detail what that relationship?
Told you the one she married was the friend zone guy. She about to break it down now.
Boy, friend zone's winning, huh?
Mm-hmm.
How did you meet that guy? How did things kind of get started? And what exactly was the girlfriend stage?
We met online, and he just was, very consistent. He just wanted to do anything to make my life easier. What can I do for you? What do you need? Very nice and perfect gentleman. But he was nice to my children. All of them were nice to my children. Like if there's probably 3 men that met my children. All of them were nice. But with him in particular, because we started to live together and, it was a little bit more of an intimate setting, I feel like him and my oldest son clashed a little bit because my oldest son, I kind of always let him be the little man of the house in a way. And he's very, very smart and highly intelligent child. And he, is not just going to let any man come in and think that he's the boss right away.
But he is the boss.
There was.
What was that?
He is the boss. Y'all move into his house.
Yeah, right.
And just, man, look at that pattern, man. Like all these motherfuckers that came around the kids. So he's like chasing all these like bum ass dudes away and stuff. So that's what I'm saying, man. Like that's sad because it's just like, man, he's looking at all this like, damn, when are you not going to bring a motherfucker in this house? Like he's fighting for his damn dear life, like chasing these motherfuckers off. Like, look, man, I ain't about to have this. There was just another dude here like 3 months ago. Who the fuck are you now?
Damn.
Kid, just man. That's why I said, man. I'm a kid advocate. So anybody got smoke with me? Goddamn it, I bring it on. Tired of y'all old ass adults, just like because y'all want to date somebody, can't sit your ass down, man. Just pulling all these people around your kids.
But she's going to run like he's your new father. Like every other time, like this is your new father. It's driving him crazy.
That kid's like, fuck that. I'm out here brawling and stuff.
Said something about, can your son, stay with a relative for a little bit?
Wow.
And I said, oh, you mean can we go stay somewhere? That's what you mean. And I packed my stuff right away. My sister came and got me and all my stuff. And because it took 2 cars, I had my car and she came with her car to get my stuff. And he brought my TV and stuff, like all the bigger things he brought. I asked him to bring it back the next day. But I left and I went back to my apartment, which I had to be out of soon. And I didn't plan to need to do anything else because I thought the relationship was moving forward. I was his girlfriend, but he was taking very good care of me and he seemed like a good guy. But when he said that about my son, I said, no, it's all of us. It's all of us. So I left him. And I remember that night I was in the shower and I prayed and I said, God, I just want someone that's going to love me and my children. That's what I want.
Now, I want to make sure that the audience is following us because we pretty much, I want to make sure we don't move too fast. But you have your second child, you 21, 22.
Yeah.
Some additional time elapsed. Now you 20.
Real quick, I just want to give a shout out to light skinned dudes because this light skinned cat's keeping everything online. He's breaking down the schedule. So shout out to light skinned guys keeping things organized and stuff.
You guys are pretty good at it though, so salute to you.
He's bringing light skinned guys back. Shout out to Harly Initiated. My man was like slow that shit up. We're gonna break this down. He ain't letting nothing slide. Shout out.
And you're on the dating market, doing a bit of online dating when you initially meet your current husband.
Yes.
But things progress a bit, but not too much to where you still keep your options open.
The other guy was just more consistent. He was always there. He was always, what do you need? So he just was prioritized.
Understood. Now,
damn, she had a roster. Yeah, I ain't catch that.
Yeah, that's what Sprinkle teaches them.
Yeah, because she was like, he was more persistent, so I prioritized him. The other guy, she was like, I friend zoned him, so that's why she's able to make that pivot so quick. Yeah, she was out here, shit.
Now, mind you, a couple of shows ago, we did talk about men should have a roster, right? Will we not shut down? Yes, but it's okay for the women to do it.
I don't think nobody should. I think you need to get yourself together and then act right, and you wouldn't need all this like roster and all this excessive dating.
This is why I disagree with you. I believe always have a roster and put everybody in a rotation. Oh, you low this month. Okay. I need to go ahead and find somebody that loves Christmas. So let me go with her real quick. I'll catch you in the spring.
But see, because I get what you're saying, but my thing is just like this, where you get out there and you do gotta like talk to multiple people. So I'm not saying like you just focus on one person, but it's just like I think you could, if you open your eyes and you're not infatuated by beauty and all that stuff, and you're not superficial, you sit down, ask the right questions, man. You get a good indicator of who somebody is, and you get them up out of there if they don't align with you. But I think too many people want to hold on to people that don't align with the program, especially guys, where it's just like they be on that simp shit, and that's where the issue lies a lot of times. So that's what I'm saying. Like if you got your shit together and you ain't with that scarcity mindset, you just eliminate people off the jump. Like, oh, you don't want to get on board? Peace. Get out of here. Eliminate it.
Facts.
This gentleman that you're dating, you decide at some point you want to move in with him.
Yes.
And what was the living situation? Is it he's already has a place where he occupies and then you and your two boys move in?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, got you.
Mm-hmm.
And how long were you dating before the relationship ends?
I mean, we're moving pretty quickly. They're moving pretty quickly. I can't quantify a time. I can't remember exactly, but things moved pretty quickly. But he seemed like a good man, and I worked from home. So I always was able to keep an eye on my children. That was part of it. I was never leaving them with him. And no, I don't care if I have boys. I know people are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
But you moved in.
Hindsight, with you and the boys moving in with this gentleman,
Mm-hmm.
is that something that you think the typical single mother just has to kind of, be concerned with in terms of moving their children in with, somebody that they're getting to know? Does marriage and commitment, or what level of commitment should be taking place before a woman does something like that?
Back then, if you would have asked me that, I would have said, if a man's going to take care of you and your kids, and that's a good man, take it. Mm. But now, it's hard to even have the words. you have to be so careful. So careful. Because men are not just doing this to stepchildren, they're doing this to their own children too. And that's something that's just very scary and incomprehensible, to be honest.
I understand.
So now this situation that happens, because now you're back in your apartment. You didn't expect to be here.
Yeah.
And it sounds like now we got some financial issues taking place.
Yeah.
And so what's the solution at this point?
It was crazy because when I prayed that night, he called me the next morning, and it was random. Like, I hadn't talked to him in a few weeks, and he would check in every time, but he just wasn't a priority. But he said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I said, just getting out of a relationship, and it didn't work out. Him and my oldest son didn't mesh well. And he said, "Well, I love your boys. They're good boys. I mean, they're..." And the way my sons responded to him when the two times that they...
Yeah, this nigga's a certified sucker, man. That's what happened. Because you saw, man, like, he wasn't a priority, never spoke with her. This is, man, and when she's telling the story, man, I feel bad because a bad situation happened to a kid, but it's just like, damn. Like, this was all about her, man. And I like how he asked that question where it was just like, was the money low and you was running into situations? She was like, hell yeah. Like, he called that same night and, she's like started smoothing it out. Like, but that dude was definitely a sucker. So yeah.
Lord. Look, man, this is what I was talking about earlier, man. Like, I mean, yeah, the guy is definitely a certified sucker, right? It makes me more irritated than ever. But that, like, both her and these men that she's encountering, they all have like a predatory like mindset, And the thing is that like he already sensed like the vulnerability and the desperation.
Oh,
so
facts.
when she started talking about like, because I felt like when she did that fake ass Sierra prayer, right, and he hit her up, she already kind of had that calculated. Like, okay, this is the guy who I friend zone. We don't know how many years he's been a friend zone, but it reminds me of other people that waited patiently for 8 years and they got what they want, or whatever, right? And she's deliberately telling him all these things because that's what she wanted him to say. So the way how she kind of alley-ooped him, it's like, hey, like, I just got out of a bad relationship because the man said that he didn't really say he don't love the kid. He just wanted the kid to get out of here. He was being disrespectful, I guess. Mm-hmm. But she's putting out like, he don't love my kid. I just want somebody just to say that they love my children. And that was just an easy pray for him. Like, okay, cool. If I just say these few words, then maybe she's finally going to accept me and I can get my foot in the door. And
but see, this is where she's not being honest.
Mm-hmm.
And women are socially calibrated, which they know how to read people pretty good. So, man, any guy that would be like, after 2 weeks after you just got a relationship, you friend zone me. And that's why I'm saying this is the ultimate red flag where something's wrong with somebody that you could treat like shit and they'll like accept you back. Something's got to be wrong with that dude. And that's what I'm saying. People know this type of stuff, but since they want something so bad, like monetary gain and stuff, they'll move forward because ain't no way in hell you could just call a guy out the blue, be like, oh, I love your kids, even though you had a boyfriend and you put me on the sideline. Like,
yeah,
like nothing's like going off in your head. Like, how the hell he's still like cool with talking to me? We need to date a little bit because this is a little. That's what I'm saying. This is
But SJ, like some people, right? They do have like those thoughts to themselves, like, okay, how could this person love me for me? And I know I ain't shit. You know what I mean? And so for him to like even still want to be with me around my presence, now I know he ain't shit. You know what I mean? Because if I was me, I wouldn't even date me. You know?
But she knew what he was, and that's why she was like, "Oh, okay, he's a sucker. I could get back in there." But she just didn't understand the magnitude of his suckerness, where he's on that weirdo shit. So that's why I'm saying, like, this is the sad thing that happens a lot, because a lot of people, they just, when they're, like I said, when you're doing predatory stuff, using people for like money and stuff,
Yeah.
you're not thinking of the repercussions coming from that end. You don't know that you're drawing in somebody else that is insecure, got low self-esteem, why he's in that position where he's like he's cool with being used like that. So that's where a lot of women just don't want to look at that position, because they're so fixated on what they can gain out of something that they're not looking at it like, hey, this dude that's let me use him, maybe something's kind of wrong with him, because people typically don't want to be used. Like, what I'm saying? So none of this like logical thoughts is running in people's heads, because they're just fixated on what they can gain from something. So that's where, like, I try to tell people, like, be careful with this shit. Don't play around with it. You might think like it's a good game, but they're good. You're drawing in those weirdos, those people that don't respect themselves and their money. It's like the video that I dropped. I was like, man, people that don't, respect themselves, man, they got self-hate. So it's like when you draw that person with self-hate, man, that danger could manifest in many forms, So yeah, people just gotta be cautious of it. But sorry, M3, you was about to say something.
Yeah, there was one last thing I wanted to point out, because like probably from maybe an hour and a half ago, when she was talking, I'm just gonna backtrack. When she was talking about this one person, because I can't remember which guy, maybe that was guy number 2. She mentioned that she met him. I think that was the guy that she met him in the train, and then eventually she met him again because they started working together.
No, that was a different guy. So it's like she met the first guy on the train, and then that didn't work out. And then she got with the other guy that she was working with.
So that was guy number 2, I believe.
Yeah, baby daddy too.
Yeah, and so the way how she told that story, as if like, okay, like God aligned it. Oh, this was coincidence or whatever. No, man, I just wanted to say, like, she stalked this dude. Like, she looked him up, probably found out where he worked at. You know what I mean? Salute to Stan. And, that's where she probably decided, well, let me go work at the same company he works for. So that way the probability of me, like, talking to him and actually building with him could actually make it happen and make it work. So
she was saying she just got the job, and then she ran into like somebody she went to school with. So yeah, it was because at first I thought the same thing, but it was just like,
oh, okay.
Yeah. So she likes that comfortability. So a lot of females do. They tend to like hook up with people they either know like through a job or like somebody from their past, man. So that's pretty common with females. They like that comfortability with people.
Yeah.
All right, let me get back to this, and then I'm gonna jump a little bit to that bruiser section.
They had met him. Was very good. Was very good. And he seemed like a good guy. I mean, his parents own their own church, and he seemed to have all the values and all the right things and said all the right things. And I was like, this is the only man that I feel like I've really been able to connect with God with. And that was something that was really powerful to me, because I feel like that was missing in, any other relationships that I entertained. Is I didn't feel like we had a strong faith bond. And when you meet certain people and you just know that you can just talk about the Lord, it's okay just to talk about the Lord and how good God is, and just, and I had that with him. And that was definitely a part of the choosing. I prayed and I said, God, please give me a sign if this is right.
And here's the problem with a lot of the stuff she's saying, and I hate being like this, but people always want to pray when they're in a bad position. It's like, man, they don't pray like, when things are going good and stuff. And the issue with the whole like spiritual things where she's trying to mention, like they're talking about, because one of my peoples was just telling me about, and I was like, man, the Bible's a book of action. Like you're supposed to take the word and apply it to your life. So it's just like, man, I think sometimes people just want to read the passages and never do the execution phase. And that's why a lot of times they still end up in bad situations, because they're just, it's almost like they want that like miracle or hope stuff to happen, and they don't apply stuff to their life or go out there and try to make these changes and stuff, make the changes happen. So it's just like they rely just on passages and stuff. So yeah, that's where she's just like pretty much in that position.
No, I agree with you. A lot of times, like, I'm guilty of this too, but a lot of times we read something just for the moment, and you just feel like you're just reading a book, but you're not really applying it as if like you're applied to the laws or whatever of the land.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that like, you end up becoming like a lukewarm or mediocre type of Christian or whatever type of believer, and it just doesn't really match like your life and like your doctrine or whatever. So I get it, man. Like people, they'll say like a lot of things in a dire situation, which that's why for me, like, and whenever I try to do like a daily prayer, most of the things before I even try to ask for anything, I now like list off the 10 different things that I'm grateful for. And it varies like, who I'm grateful for at the moment. And honestly, like it helps me like a lot before. Sometimes I don't even remember to like really pray and ask for anything, because by the time I get to the goddamn list or whatever, I'm just like, damn, I'm already satisfied. you know what I mean?
That's good. That's a good tactic. Yeah, because some like I tend not to ask for stuff when I'm in a bad situation. I'm just like, you know what? I'm alive. The miracle is like life itself. I need to figure it out, and I try to only pray and stuff, man, when I'm not in duress all the time, because I just think that's unauthentic. Like it's like, man, the only time you're gonna reach out is like when you always in bad situations. It's like, man, why don't you reach out when you in a good state? So I like what you said too. I might have to take that on. But all right, I'm gonna jump to the part where Bruiser jumped in there, and then we could close out after that. Because
all right, for sure.
I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drop the link in the chat so we can come up, so the audience can come up and join Dr. Spirit up here.
Absolutely,
AKA Darwin.
y'all. So go ahead. It's about that time. Dr. Spirit, we got your time tonight. I know it's nice and late. You gonna rock with us here tonight?
I'm gonna rock with you for a few minutes. I'll give you a good 20, 30 minutes. Come on.
There you go. We got about a good 20, 30. So y'all get some free therapy. I think Dr. Spirit is like 3 years back rolled right now. If you're trying to get some real therapy from Dr. Spirit,
we'll take it. Thank you, man.
Yeah, Dr. Spirit was real good. Like, yeah, we're skipping around a little bit, so definitely go watch the whole thing, because she was definitely kicking some knowledge on her. She's probably one of the, best psychiatrists or whatever her title is that I've seen come on stuff, because she was just like, nah, we need to talk about stuff. She wasn't trying to bypass anything, so I like her message on this.
Go ahead and we'll get a light 30 minutes in. So
age is 38, Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta.
Go back picture and kind of how things are set up. So I think it's just so much to learn from your story. So guys, please call in. I'm dropping the link in the chat now. We got the awesome, the honorable, the most lit Dr. Spirit joining us, and she's ready to drop a ton of game on y'all. So please call in, and we're gonna bring you up one by one.
Absolutely, Lano. So do we got some people backstage that we could go ahead and start rolling up? And please, by the way, if you're backstage, put your cameras on, guys.
Yes.
We will not let you up if your cameras are not on. So put your cameras on, and we'll have you come up. We just ask that you guys be respectful in this time so we can conduct a productive conversation. But we're going to let the people come up now. Who we got backstage, Lano?
We got Darwin backstage.
Okay, go ahead and bring my brother up.
Shouts, Bruiser.
Darwin, what's up with you, brother? Brother, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
What's up?
Darwin, I hope that ain't your internet messing up in that big ass house you got. You gotta get that shit together. Nah. But yeah, Darwin would be pulling up everywhere. Shout out to him. I was cracking up when he pulled up, but he asked some great questions, man. I like when he came up, man, because it tied into the whole like religion aspect. So let me go ahead and play it.
What's up with you, brother? If you can't, I got your name. Can you give me your age and your location?
Age is 38, Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. What's
ATL.
up with ATL here? So what's your question for us tonight, dog?
Fuck ATL. Sorry.
Oh,
And you ain't
My
right.
question is, I noticed the woman said she saw the signs. So if you see the signs before your kids come into a picture, how much is this self-inflicted? Because me looking from that.
I said I
me looking
didn't
on the-
see the signs until after we were married already, so we were already invested as a family at that point.
What I'm hearing is that your kids, you had kids after you got married, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So you said in the beginning of the marriage, I think in another video or maybe even a day, you said in the beginning of your marriage, he was pretty much sexually violating. So what I'm seeing is that you knew that this man was offensive or abusive, but then you went on ahead and had kids with him. So that means that for me, you put your kids in danger.
I think that that's the narrative that you want to put on the situation, but that's
Nah, that's the facts. Because your whole pattern shows that you was kind of just maneuvering based off of your desires, and you know you wanted you might have had your back against the wall financially. So he's kind of spot on with what he's seeing. So I just definitely had to give some pushback on that. He's not forming no narrative. We're all listening to your story and we're looking at the timeline. So that's where she needs to. It's like this is where the accountability sometimes needs to come, and you need to sit back and listen instead of pushing back, because you are out here telling your story.
it's not the reality of what it was. And like I said, I was very heavily manipulated by scripture. He, would use it. He would gaslight me, and after I hadn't even I don't even know if I was pregnant yet.
And sorry to keep stopping, but this is another point where you're supposed to know the script. A lot of people always want to mention spirituality and stuff, and one of the things, man, you're supposed to know the word for yourself so you don't get manipulated. And it seems with her, like what she's trying to do right here, and this is what a lot of people do, it's just like this person manipulated with me with the word. And it's just like the Bible even tells you, like, man, be cautious of who's preaching to you. That's why you're supposed to be educated on it. So it kind of contradicts what the word is preaching and stuff like that. So yeah, she's trying to sidestep accountability. And it's just like, hey, you know what? If you're truly like regretful, like we were talking about earlier in the video when she was like, I'm not regretful at anything that happened. It's just like, that's what Stan was like, man, you're not doing the therapy, because when you go through therapy, like Stan been through it, he's like, man, you're supposed to learn through that process and have some regrets and take accountability from some of your actions and stuff. So she's just like getting defensive at this point.
Yeah, just like she's not really it kind of makes me wonder, like, okay, like what's the purpose of even coming to these platforms, telling your story, and you have no substance to really reflect on, to say like, look, like, yes, this happened to me, but because I made these type of decisions, it's like you're just saying like, hey, this happened to me because in this timeline, this guy did this to me. In this timeline, this guy, treated me this way. And for the people who will be watching this, because we fast forward, she's talking about pretty much like the last guy that she married, which that's husband number 2.
I'm not sure how many times she'd been married, but I mean, as far as like kids and stuff, this was the third guy she had kids with. Yeah.
Okay, because by that time, she already had her 2 kids, right?
Yeah, 2 kids, 2 baby daddies, and before she got with the husband, she was talking about she was in a relationship with the guy that wasn't getting along with her kid, and she just jumped into this next one because he was kind of like the friend zone rebound type guy that called her on that night. So she just could from the timeline got pregnant at 17, got pregnant at 21, met the guy around 23, this new one. So it's just like she's going from relationship to relationship to relationship because She's probably in a place of desperation financially wise. So
wait. So my question is like the guy that called her, right? After having a falling out with the person that didn't, care for the kid or whatever, did that guy became her husband?
yeah, they end up getting married. So she didn't really get into the timeline. She was just like, it happened pretty fast.
Okay, but that was
Yeah,
the
so
one
that's what she
about,
said.
like,
She
how
didn't
he
give the timeline because it was super quick and it would look bad on her.
Okay, yeah.
But see, this is where Darwin's kind of pointing out, like, hey man, you saw all these red flags. Like red flag number one, a guy that would marry you after you sidelined him and he knows you just got out of a relationship. He's not sitting there because like if I saw somebody that I used to talk to and they just got a relationship, I'm like, man, you need time to like deprocess that relationship you was out of. Like, man, we could be friends or like long distance type ways, but I'm not gonna jump in a relationship with you. So that's a red flag if a guy's just want to jump in a relationship after you just came out of a relationship and he got friend zone, and she knows that, but she's at the point now where it's just like, she ain't taking no accountability for the pattern that she established, and that's the issue. But yeah, let me see what else he says.
It's the last time it happened. So, in every other way, he was a good man. I didn't think that it was worth throwing my family away or the family that we were trying to create because he had done those things. And unfortunately, I didn't realize that would mean that he would go on to abuse his own children. I don't know how someone would correlate the two. But that's just my opinion.
But now, Darwin, I want you to hold tight because I think that was a valid concern. I think a lot of men feel that way. I mean, you could read through the comments of the video that went viral. A lot of men have this perception of what they think victimhood should look like. So, Dr. Spirit, I want to get your help here because for the people who are posing this type of question, hey, if you've already experienced this abuse or you've already experienced some of these negative things, how could you continue to move forward in a relationship? Dr. Spirit, could you give us some context on why someone who has been victimized may continue to continue with the relationship?
Because oftentimes a victim believes that it's something that is unique to them. They don't believe that the person that they love would consider doing more heinous things. Oftentimes they think that that's something that's specific to their relationship. So again, I don't know the story here. I don't know the backstory. But when we're talking about a victim of abuse, they don't necessarily think if I have children with someone, they will abuse someone too. And I want you to remember this because it's very easy to sit back and judge somebody when you have a healthy mind in a space that is absent of trauma. When you are caught in a cycle, the way that you see things, the way that you feel about things, the way that your brain operates is very different. So that may be also why you're hearing how she was perceiving relationships before she had therapeutic support and how she's perceiving those things now. Mm-hmm. And so I just want you guys to be very careful. It is very hard to understand what victims go through if you have never been a victim yourself. But one of the things that most victims will tell you on the other side of healing is that nobody is judging or critiquing them more, and nobody is suffering more than the victims who are going through the experience.
Well,
so asking questions are important, but asking them from a place of objectivity is even more important.
Well, the reason
Darwin, we're gonna let you close out here so we can get to the other callers. But go ahead, brother.
The reason why I frame my question like that is because she believed in what I believe in. I believe in God. So she gave me a source of a way to hold her accountable when she start saying God this and God that. And if you read the word, you would know that sexual immorality or physical abuse or anything like that is pretty much grounds for divorce. And that supersedes any type of gaslighting or emotional manipulation. If she's so grounded in the word and scripture, that actually supersedes any of the other offenses this man put towards her. And that's the reason why I framed my question like that. Because if we're going to call ourselves spiritually driven and backed by biblical principles, sorry, that's my son in background, we have to be unwavering. We have to be unwavering. And that's the only reason why I framed my question like that. But My sorrows goes out to you. I hope that you can heal from this, and I appreciate you, Dr. Spirit, for talking to the lady.
I appreciate you as well. And please understand, for everybody that may be in the chat tonight, I want you to understand that it's not about defending anybody. It's not about debating anybody. The only thing that I want to do is offer as much clarity as possible, because I want us all to be our best selves. And I wish that more pastors had Darwin's perspective. I wish that more church members had that perspective that says be unwavering in support of victims, because most folks who are working with church folks who are being wounded by their partners, who are being wounded by their spouses, who are being wounded by family members, if we were unwavering in abuse and we protected and stood up for one another, we wouldn't have victims stand in situations trying to take it to prayer closets, praying it away, acting like it doesn't matter, being ashamed, and keeping that trauma a secret. So here for healthy, however we have to find it.
Absolutely. And thanks so much, Darwin, for joining
I appreciate
us.
you, brother. Thank you so much. Let's get.
Yeah, he had a good point, man. I like the fact that he stood his ground on the principles, because it's just like, yeah, man, like if you kind of state like the spiritual side, like he laid out, it's just like, man, you can't waver, man. You gotta be knowledgeable, man. That's part to it. So I like he stood his ground, and I like what Dr. Spirit also said, where she was just like, hey, man, like, she did give some background as far as like some people might not be in the right state. So I'm glad she did say that, because yeah, maybe sometimes we're thinking from like she said, a healthy mindset. So that could play in. But I just think when sometimes the pushback on that is just like, if somebody's that logical where they're able to spot somebody that they use for money and stuff like that. There's a lot of logic that goes behind, that type of thinking, and, how she was able to like have, a roster, people positioned somewhat like, okay, this guy didn't work out, I could maneuver to this one. There's a lot of logic that goes behind that undercuts the fact that people ain't in their right mind and they don't know what they're doing and stuff. So that's why I was like, sometimes like I give Stan pushback on some of the therapy. It's just like, hey man, a lot of times when you look at people's patterns and you start getting the details, you start seeing that they're capable of doing a lot of like thinking, critical thinking. But when they're coming and be like, hey, I wasn't in my right mind when this happened, sometimes it is an excuse, because it's just like, nah, I see what you was doing. You had a critical thinking in all these other aspects, but you don't want to like focus on this one, and you're trying to, low key like downplay your capabilities because you know how that appears and that looks. That's manipulation too, when it's just like you could just be like, hey, you know what, I messed up, I was in a bad state, like you were saying, M3, like, man, you know what, I was in a place of desperation, and you know what, I just need to take accountability for it. It's just that simple.
Yeah, look, I mean, here's the thing. We the majority of people do go through, their rough patches. I mean, clearly, right? Like when you listen to that woman talk, you can clearly detect and say, okay, something mentally is wrong with her. But however, she's also a manipulator too, a master manipulator. So I'm not gonna say 100% like everything that she's doing, like she's like just the victim. But at the same time, it's like, okay, because like you went through all these situations and she made a choice not to really deal with it on her own accord. It's like, okay, now it's like you feeling like the solution is going from one man to the next. Right now, this is just a person, right, that's on survival mode. Whatever that she's done for herself that she probably should have done like when she was younger, and she's trying to make up for all her mistakes by using all these men. At a certain point, it's like, yeah, you got to stop like quoting like all these like God scriptures and the Bible this and Bible that. Like you said, like, these women, they're very good as far as like remixing, the Lord and his scriptures. And I'm glad that Darwin, like, aka Bruiser, came in and started really like, giving a cutthroat, like, type of opinion. Because the Bible is also cutthroat. Is it you're gonna do this or you're gonna sin in that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it's cut and dry with that stuff, man. It ain't no. A lot of people want to make gray area, but it's like, like,
yeah, man. So
yeah, no, yeah. I mean, she's like, if dude did that to her child, I know they're going to the investigation, so that's why you just can't make a firm stance like this. You know, none of us are investigators, so when they put out the information, that's when we'll get it. But you know, if he did do that stuff, she is a victim in that sense. Like her child got touched, so heart goes out to him. I like what Darwin even said, like, man, we're all praying for you, but it's just like, man, like the lady even said herself, Isis, she was just like, she's putting a story out there so people can learn from her story. So, you know, I tilt my hat for that, because I think we do need to have these conversations. And like I said, Dr. Sterling even said it too, where it's just like a lot of times, like even in 2024, we keep going having these type of things pop up is because like people don't discuss this stuff. And she was like mentioning she's focuses on prevention, and that's where I'm at. I'm like, it's sad that like situations happen, but we need to break down like the psyche sometimes, and you know, people self-centered act sometimes, because that's just what it is. So I'm gonna be a little harsh with it, because like I said, I'm here to like help out the kids and prevent people from, like, you know, always putting themselves first without thinking about the kids. So that's where she needs to just take some accountability. Like, you know what, you know, I did kind of put myself first. I was chasing, you know, desires, or I have money situations, and you know, ladies, like, don't you know, go down this path. And that's how the story needs to be told, because I think sometimes we don't want to make ourselves look bad, because you know, it's just human nature, men are women. So we'll just like kind of brush over certain things in the story, so because we don't want to kind of like make ourselves look bad, so we'll brush over the parts where we probably had some accountability, and that's where the story never gets fully told and stuff. And that could be dangerous to other people, because it's like, man, it could help out other people when we tell the story right. So it's just like, if you want to tell the story, man, just do it in a way, because it could help a lot of people out, where it's just like, hey, don't, you know, have kids early, because it does put you in a position where you know, if you don't, you know, get yourself right financially, you might have to latch on to somebody because of the financial reasons, and that could open you up to risk, because you never know who's a good person or not. So get your stuff together, plan for kids, you know, don't have all these inner family dynamics, because it might not turn out the right way. And I think people just got to start thinking about this stuff a little differently. But all right, man, we'll go ahead and close this out, man. We just wanted to break down that interview. Like I said, we didn't do the whole thing because it was like pretty long, but y'all could go check out the full video. Shout out to Harly Initiated, man. They doing some good stuff over there. So definitely some entertaining and great interview with them brothers over there.
yeah,
But all right, y'all. Peace.
Hey, everybody.